No quorum. Can you ring the quorum bell?
Bell be rung for some few minutes. This is to allow for more members to access the chambers as it stands. The House doesn't have the requisite quorum to commence its business this Wednesday afternoon, and so members of Parliament will be allowed to make their way into the chamber until that particular number has been attained. And pursuant to Standing Orders number 42A, the member for Githunguri, member for Marakwet East, Honorable Kagongo Buwen, will be asking the Cabinet Secretary to further explain what actions the ministry has taken against the circumstances that led to the death of one Edwith Kiplagat that occurred on the 9th of April, the year is 2021. This is after a confrontation with Kenya Forest officers based at Tangul Forest Station in Marakwet East constituencies, and also explain what actions the ministry has taken against the forest officers who were on patrol on that particular day, and whether the Cabinet Secretary could consider compensating the family of the deceased persons, considering that the person in question was the sole breadwinner of a family of 7. Those particular questions will be replied before the Departmental Committee on Energy and Matters Natural Resources. The member for Bomet Central, Honorable Roni Tonui, will be asking the Cabinet Secretary for Education why the Kenya National Examination Council has not paid teachers who marked the KCSE 2020 examination papers and when they'll be paid. The member will also be seeking to understand what criteria is used in determining the rates for paying invigilators, supervisors, examiners, and center management, as well as the current rates and where the NEC intends to revise the said rates. The member, Honorable Roni Tonui, will also be seeking to understand why the deputy center managers as well as teachers handling practicals during examinations are not considered for payment, and could the ministry consider paying those particular teachers and deputy managers. His questions will be forwarded to the Committee on Matters Education and Research. A nominated member, Honorable Godfrey Osotsi, will be asking the Cabinet Secretary for Education to provide a list of all secondary schools, the capitalization funds allocated to each school, as well as the total student enrollment for the financial years 2019-2020, as well as 2020 and 2021. Honorable Godfrey Osotsi will also be seeking to understand the measures that the ministry has put in place to ensure secondary schools in Vihiga County, which have continually received less capitation of funds. This is in relation to the total number of students enrolled receive the said funds. And the third question by Honorable Osotsi is on status of letters on capitation, matters under funding forwarded to the ministry by the various schools in Vihiga County, and when the ministry will reconcile its records and remit all funds that are not remitted to the affected schools. Questions by nominated member Godfrey Otsotsi will be replied before the Departmental Committee on Education and Matters Research. The honorable member for Dagoretti South, that is Honorable John Kiari, will be asking the Cabinet Secretary for Interior and Matters Coordination of the National Government. Could the Cabinet Secretary state the number of citizens who registered for the Huduma number in every county? Honorable Kiari will also be seeking to understand what measures the ministry has put in place to ensure that citizens are able to collect their Huduma cards in the respective stations where the registration was carried out. So far, 3 million cards have been collected out of the 5 million cards, and those questions will be replied before the Departmental Committee on Administration and National Security. The House has attained the requisite quorum. I'll now be handing you over for the live broadcast. Enjoy your viewing.
Order number 2, communication from the chair. Order number 3, messages. Order number 4, petitions. Order number 5, papers. Leader majority, there's a paper.
Honorable Speaker, I beg to lay the following paper on the table of the House today, Wednesday, June 16th, afternoon sitting. The report of the Auditor General and financial statements of the Mechanical and Transport Fund, State Department for Infrastructure for the year ended 30th of June 2020 and the certificate therein.
Next order. Order number 6, notices of motion. Order number 7, questions and statements. First segment, questions. First question by the member for Githunguri, Honorable Kago. The Honorable Gabriel Kago, member for Githunguri. Absent, not desiring to be present. Second question, member for Marakwet East, the Honorable Kangogo Bowen.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I ask the question number 188 of 2021. And the question to the Cabinet Secretary for Environment and Forestry. Mr. Speaker, could the Cabinet Secretary provide an update on the status of investigation into the circumstance that led to the death of Edwin Kiblakatia-Teach, ID number 225-99049, that occurred on 19 April 2021 after confrontation with Kenya forestry officers based at Tangul Forest Station in Marakwet East constituency. Number 2, Honorable Speaker, could the Cabinet Secretary state what actions the ministry has taken against the forestry officers who were on patrol that day and who are suspected to have murdered him, and explain why it has taken too long to arrest and prosecute the officers who are suspected to have been involved in the killing of the said person. Number 3, Honorable Speaker, would the Cabinet Secretary consider compensating the family of the deceased person, considering that he was the sole breadwinner for his family of 7? And the last, Honorable Speaker, what measures has the ministry taken to ensure that the recurring instances of violence, torture, and killings made against the civilians by the forestry officers are addressed, and that there is a peaceful coexistence between the civilians and the forestry officers? Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The question will be replied to before the Departmental Committee on Environment and Natural Resources. Third question by the member for Bomet Central, Honorable Tonui.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I arise to ask question 189 of 2021, which is directed to the Cabinet Secretary in charge of education. The questions are the following. Could the Cabinet Secretary explain why the Kenya National Examination Council has not paid teachers who marked KCSE 2020 examination papers, and when will they be paid? Could the Cabinet Secretary state the criteria used in determining the rates for paying invigilators, supervisors, examiners, and center managers, the current rates, and when the NEC intends to revise the said rates? Could the Cabinet Secretary explain why the deputy center managers and teachers handling practicals during examinations are not considered for payment, and could the ministry consider paying them? Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The question will be replied to before the Departmental Committee on Education and Research. Next question by a nominated member, the Honorable Godfrey Osotsi.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I wish to ask question number 190 of 2021, directed to the Cabinet Secretary for Education, which reads, 1. Could the Cabinet Secretary provide a list of all secondary schools, the capitation funds allocated for each school, and the total student enrollment for each school for the financial year 2019-2020 and 2020-2021? 2, what measures has the ministry put in place to ensure that secondary schools in Vihiga County, which have continually received less capitation funds in relation to the total student enrollment, received the said funds? 3, what is the status of letters on capitation underfunding forwarded to the ministry by various schools in Vihiga County? And when will the ministry reconcile its record and remit all the funds not remitted to the affected school? Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The question will be replied to before, again, the Committee on Education and Research. Next question by the member for Dagoretti South, Honorable John Kiarie. The Honorable John Kiarie, member for Dagoretti South. For the second time, question by the member for Githunguri, Honorable Gabriel Kago.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I rise to ask question 179 of 2021.
Ordinarily, the practice is, since you came late, you start by apologizing for being late. You don't just go straight to asking a question once.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for reminding me to apologize for coming late.
Yes.
Honorable Speaker, my constituency is near Nairobi, so I was in the constituency serving the great people of Githunguri, and I'm sorry, next time I'll be here on time. So I rise to ask question 179 of 2021 to the Cabinet Secretary for Lands and Physical Planning. Question 1, could the Cabinet Secretary consider facilitating the transfer of land reference number 16217/87/6 to one David Kariuki Kuria of ID number 84333183, the buyer, from Mr. Michael Shaw, the seller, following successful dismissal of a caveat on the land under civil suit number 435 of 2006, filed at the High Court in Nairobi. By using the certified copies of the proceedings in order to bring to close this unfortunate matter that has seen Mr. Kuria suffer immensely, as he is not able to utilize the land despite having fully paid for it in 2004. 2, what measures has the ministry put in place to resolve such matters involving land in the country? Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Yeah, that question will be replied to before the Departmental Committee on Lands. Yes, Honorable Omlele, what's your point of order?
Honorable Speaker, with a lot of respect to my senior and my very good friend, the Honorable Dwale, I'm wondering whether he's appropriately dressed to be in the House.
Well, I think the Honorable Omlele may have noticed that Honorable Dwelle having not buttoned up to. Yeah, I think you noticed that the neck was out, is it? So the Honorable Dwelle, when you put on that attire, make sure that you cover the neck. You know, you sit next to great people here. They shouldn't see your neck. Next segment. No, sorry. For the second time, the last question by the member for Dagoretti South. For the second time, before we drop it.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. And I'm rising to ask a question to the Cabinet Secretary.
It's never done that way.
Yes?
I mean, you can't. I'm saying for the second time. I'm calling the question for the second time. So surely it means the first time you are not here. The first thing you do is, first of all, to apologize to the House for coming late, because the House sits at 2:30. And you know, honourable members, and I want to also encourage chairs of committees. Chairs of committees, if you appoint a sitting time to be 10 a.m. or 9:30, let the chairperson be there at 10 a.m. or 9:30. If you don't realize quorum, after 30 minutes, adjourn the meeting. Adjourn the meeting. There's no need of keeping witnesses waiting, because it cannot be true. The committees are supposed to be a microcosm of the plenary. We sit here at 2:30. When you have to sit in the morning, at 9:30, without fail. So, and the speaker is always there on the chair. It's the bell that is rung to tell members that we don't have quorum. So it cannot be the opposite in committees. That the chairmen are told, please don't come, chair, we are waiting for quorum to form. No. Be there. If there's no quorum, just adjourn the meeting. And that way we will know which members are serious, who want to be present in committees, so that we can encourage the leaders of majority and the whips to throw those who don't want to attend. Let them be taken out. They can go and do other things, I'm sure. Because committees are suffering a lot because of this thing of lack of quorum and not sitting in good time. And we are receiving a lot of complaints from witnesses who come and they wait for 1 hour, 1.5 hours before committees form quorum. And I mean, the membership is so high. I don't know why it is that, it does not give a very good picture of the committee or even the entire institution of Parliament. Honorable Kiari, yes, you have come now.
Honorable Speaker, I do profusely apologize. It is not in my character to be late. In fact, I am known for being very punctual, and I do appreciate the magnanimity from your chair to allow me to ask this question.
Proceed.
Honorable Speaker, my question is directed to the Cabinet Secretary for Interior and National Coordination. And my question, Mr. Speaker, is, A, could the Cabinet Secretary for Interior and National Coordination provide the full information of the number of all the Kenyan citizens who have registered for the Huduma number? And B, Mr. Speaker, what measures has this ministry taken to ensure that all the citizens who applied for this Huduma number can collect their Huduma number cards at the stations where they applied these Huduma number cards, and not from other far-flung stations where they are being sent to collect these cards? Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Very well. The question will be replied to before the Departmental Committee on Administration and National Security. Honorable Ben Jomo Washiali, what's your point of order?
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I stand on point of order 42 C4 in terms of responses to these questions, Mr. Speaker, especially where there is a supplementary question. Honorable Speaker, you find that with this current situation of COVID, where responses are supposed to be given online or in a virtual meeting, you find that members who have supplementary questions will not have an opportunity to ask those questions, Honorable Speaker. Like, for example, the question raised by Honorable Soti about capitation is a question that I would have also wished to know about the capitation in Kakamega. But because of these virtual meetings, Honorable Speaker, it's not possible that supplementary questions could be responded to. And that's why you will see many questions that are similar in nature repeatedly being asked on this floor. Will I be in order, Honorable Speaker, to request you or to ask the office of the clerk that whenever we have such a responses, it's put on a platform that we can all read so that we can participate in the meeting when they are responding to such a question, so that we don't have to come back to this house, to this floor, to ask similar questions. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
You know, every Thursday, the leader of the majority party reads out the business that is going to be transacted the following week, both in plenary and in either committee of the whole house or respective committees, especially with regard to answers to be given by cabinet secretaries. So if you took that, if every member listened, it's unfortunate that most members don't listen when the leader is reading out those businesses. That the coming week, the cabinet secretary for this and this and this will be appearing before committee A, B, C, and that another, either the same day, another cabinet secretary will be appearing before another committee to respond to questions. So I don't think whether there is any need of any other platform, save to put the statement by the leader of majority every Thursday under standing order 44 on the normal website, parliamentary website, so that those that are sufficiently literate can look at the website and see what business is coming the next week. So whether even if it is virtual, any member who is keen will then be at liberty to appear before that committee and request the chair of the committee to allow them to lodge supplementary questions to whomever it is, either cabinet secretary or any other such functionary that may be responding to the questions. So it's just a question of members paying attention. The only other thing that we need to do is put that statement by the leader majority either on the Bunge information or on the parliamentary website, so that everybody, members of parliament, and indeed even the public, is aware that this is the business to be transacted. Very well. Next segment is requests. The first request is by the Honorable Godfrey Osotsi.
Honorable Speaker.
Sorry, before you proceed, Honorable Osotsi, the member for Malava, you have an intervention. What's the issue? Sorry.
Thank you. I sought a statement in May, 13th of May, from the chairperson of Education Committee and the the chair of Education Committee.
Which one?
I sought a statement.
Education.
Education, yes. The vice chair who was on the floor that day informed us that would get the response in 2 weeks' time. Mr. Speaker, now, this is the 5th week. This statement was to do with the admission in our primary teacher colleges, whose admission was very low, only 500 students to the 34 colleges. So I'm just wondering, Mr. Speaker, when will this come?
That's an important issue, Honorable Malulu Ijendi. Where is the Vice Chair of Committee on Education? The Honorable Ngujiri Wambugu? Or indeed the Chairperson, Honorable Florence Mutua? I think, Honour members, I will encourage members also to consider, rather than coming to raise complaints, prefer a motion to censure a chairperson who neglects to respond to questions. Because I can see now, the chairperson is not there, the vice chair is not there. I mean, we can't just keep referring everything to the leader majority. Because it is dereliction of duty. And I think I want to encourage members that yes, you will be perfectly in order. And you bring the motion, I will approve it. Because chairpersons cannot both a chairperson and a vice chair, they can't all go missing. It's not right. This is wrong. Honorable Junet, what do you want to say?
Mr. Speaker, the chair lady for the Education Committee had issues with the Budget Committee. There were some figures she was reconciling, Mr. Speaker. So I seek your indulgence, Mr. Speaker. I'm sure that's what caught up with her. The vice is loitering in town, maybe. But I'm just speaking about the chair. He's loitering in town, maybe. I don't know.
I'm sure you may not have seen anybody loitering, Honorable Junet. But Honorable Junet, can you? We don't want to give the leader majority this because you already now you assist of where the chair is. Could you tell her to respond to the question, the statement sought by the Honorable Malulu Ijendi? Honorable Member for Emuayo.
Yeah, thank you, Honorable Speaker. It is true, like it has been said, the chair had issues with the budget. And there was some thing they needed to harmonize between the ministry and the statement that we had done. And therefore, I also take it upon myself to take the information to her about the question by Honorable. As a member, a seasoned member of that committee. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
And a serious stakeholder in education. Yes, now she has 2 assistants, people to relate. So the Honorable Malulu Ijendi, you can now pursue the Honorable Junet and the Honorable Omboko Milemba. No, there's nothing out of order.
Mr. Speaker, I took responsibility because the vice chair, the chair is from the minority. Now I want to tell her what has transpired in the House. But I've just heard a member of the committee saying he's seasoned. I don't know which season he's talking about because this is his first season in Parliament, Mr. Speaker. Or he's talking about as COPET treasurer, seasoned COPET member, Mr. Speaker. Which season is he talking about? 1 season only. 1 season, Mr. Speaker.
Maybe a serious, no, we will allow it to rest at that, but suffice to say that both yourself, Honorable Omboko Milemba and Honorable Junet, should take up that matter. I think it's not fair that the Honorable Ijendi should wait for his response for so long. Honorable Sankok.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. I also seeked a statement on the...
Seeked?
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. They have corrected me. So, you know, these people, Honorable Speaker, even Junior is talking about season. This season of chairs being removed and members being removed, if you serve for 3 consecutive years, you are a ranking member and a season member, because most of us have not been able to survive 3 years in a committee. So, Honorable Speaker, I also sought, now that I've been corrected, I also sought a statement on the status of standard gauge railway, which are terminated in a remote area called Murutoto, a shopping center with 1 shop and 1 butchery. So, and it 52 kilometers already. So, Honorable Speaker, it is now being vandalized. So I had sought that statement, and I have not been given an answer by the chairperson. He's my neighbor here, but he have not given me the answer. So will I drain the answer from him by force?
When did you seek the statement?
I sought the statement. Now you are saying, when did you seek it?
Yes,
I sought the statement.
That is grammar.
I sought the statement 4 months ago, Honorable Speaker.
4 months ago?
Yes.
Honorable Kosing, is it true that he sought a statement 4 months ago? That would be February.
I thank you, Honorable Speaker. Speaker, you know me, I'm effective. And I'm seasoned, and I'm ranking. I'm ranking, Honorable Chair, and my records are found also in ICC in Hague as a ranking and a serious member of this House, Honorable Speaker. Speaker, I have to confirm whether it was a question or a statement, Speaker, but it was responded, Honorable Speaker, before my committee in his presence. Honorable Chair, that was, Speaker, it was done. Whether he was satisfied or not satisfied, it was up to him. Honorable Speaker, it was responded. I thank you, but I'm ranking.
Were you there?
Yes, Honorable Speaker, and sometimes, Honorable Speaker, some of the honorable members are becoming a bit rude, because if they say it is up to me, it is not up to me, it is up to the people of Narok who are suffering now because the standard gauge railway. So I was there, and I was not satisfied, and I said that I was not satisfied, and I need an answer.
No, that's different. That's different. If you are not satisfied, that's different. What you should have done at that time, if you are not satisfied, you should have requested the chair of the committee to insist on you getting an answer that would satisfy you. But remember, the answer might not satisfy you, but it may satisfy the committee and everybody else. So that will be left to your own bodily feelings. So you could, I'm not too sure whether the answer was, if it was satisfactory to the committee and the members, then the rest would be left to your feelings. So if you are not satisfied, you could ask another one. Now that you are present when the answer was given, now if you coming to raise it here now, is also dishonest. So, Honorable Mwirigi, John Paul.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Pursuant to Standing Order 44-2C, I requested for the statement, Mr. Speaker, from the chairperson for State Department of Industry, of Trade, Industry and Cooperative regarding the closure of Miraa Market at Somalia, Mr. Speaker, and the suspension of all flights to Somali, and the crops, Mr. Speaker, which were turned down at airport, Mr. Speaker. This statement was very crucial for the people of Igembe, Mr. Speaker, and up to now, I have yet to receive the response.
Well, you know, you're saying that you sought a statement from the chairman of the State Department, so I was wondering whether, do we have that one here in this? We don't have. So, unless you sought from the chairman of the Departmental Committee on Trade and Cooperatives.
Chairperson for the Departmental Committee, Mr. Speaker.
The Honorable Adan Haji. Honorable Haji has become very rare these days. Is that? Maybe he's pursuing your answer somewhere in a neighboring country. The Honorable Adan Haji, who is his vice chair? Does he have a vice chair? Who is the vice chair of trade? That Ruth Moniki, is she? She is not. She doesn't come these days. I haven't seen her since we reopened. Or maybe she attends the evening sittings. You know, we've been told that there are some members who have become great frequent attendees of the 7 o'clock to 9:30 sittings. Maybe Honorable John Paul Mwirigi, you may have to wait until that time, but for the time being, let the leader of majority take up the matter with the Honorable Haji. Now let me go to the segment on requests. Honorable Sotsi.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, pursuant to Standing Order number 44-2C, I wish to request for a statement from the Chairperson of the Departmental Committee on Environment and Natural Resources regarding an undertaking by the Cabinet Secretary for Environment and Forestry regarding Shiru and Shaviringa Settlement Scheme in Kakamega County, but located in Vihiga County, Kakamega Forest, but located in Vihiga County, Mr. Speaker. Honorable Speaker, on the Thursday, 11th February, 2021, the Cabinet Secretary represented by the CAS undertook to, among other things, convene a meeting of stakeholders with the Ministry and the Kenya Forest Service, which was supposed to include the Governor of Vihiga County and members of Parliament from the county to resolve the matter of Shiru and Shaviringa settlement schemes, which is in Kakamega Forest. Honorable Speaker, it is against this background that I seek a statement from the Chairperson of the Departmental Committee on Environment and National Resources to explain the status of the 1 month undertaking that the Cabinet Secretary gave in regards to Shiru and Shaviringa settlement scheme in Kakamega Forest, noting the suffering the residents of the schemes are facing, and whether any steps have been taken to resolve the matter. I thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I want you to give direction, because this seems to be the trend where Cabinet, CAS, they appear before the committees, they make verbal undertakings, and some of those verbal undertakings are never implemented. This is the case that I presented a question before this committee 4 months ago, and the Cabinet Secretary through the CAS made an undertaking that they will appear again before the committee to give a status report. Mr. Speaker, it's now 4 months. I have not received anything from the committee, and I have not heard anything from the ministry. So that is becoming a trend, where CAS particularly give undertakings which they don't implement, Mr. Speaker.
Just to give you some facts, that even in the former dispensation before 2010, August 27th, the people or officers who used to be referred to as assistant ministers would never sign anything that Parliament would receive. And I do recall, I think, I don't want to mention the member, but the particular member in the 9th Parliament is a member, and I know he is a member in this Parliament now also, when he was Assistant Minister for Health, and he purported to sign an answer on behalf of the minister, then Minister for Health, and now a governor somewhere, Governor of Kitui. This some years back. So I know that thing will never be accepted. So too should it be the case today with those people. You are calling them CAS. They have no authority to give an undertaking. In fact, if it is something that where an undertaking is to be given, especially if they are doing it orally, that's now, when they do it orally, that is roadside. It can be, that's the equivalent of a roadside declaration. If it is to be in writing, it must be written, it must be under the signature of the cabinet secretary. Because the Constitution recognizes a cabinet secretary or a principal secretary. Those others, they can do those other things, go around there to do a few things, including discussing issues about FGM and others. But the thing of giving an undertaking is a serious matter, because, and that's why we have a committee on implementation, so that if a cabinet secretary gives an undertaking and it is not done, then our committee on implementation can hold somebody, a substantive office holder, not those others. Now, you notice even our standing orders don't make reference to those people. The standing orders make reference to the cabinet secretary and the principal secretary. It is deliberate. It is deliberate because, you can't, it's very difficult to know where to place them. They are neither bands, it is, or no, the mammals, and, you can't quite, they are like bats. So, please don't take any undertakings from those ones. No. If it is an undertaking, chairs of committees, Honorable Rachel Nyamai, if it is an undertaking to be given, it must be in writing. If it is being read by any other person, people whom you can go to the Constitution and you will find them. These others, you never know. They could say this today and then the next day they are, because you can't trace them. Where will you trace them? So they can come and talk with you, engage you in, those discussions. But please, if it is an undertaking, Honorable Sotsi, let it be in writing by a cabinet secretary, if it is being read on their behalf. But if it is the cabinet secretary himself or herself, you see there is a handstand, and you can take the handstand and follow it up. But now even if it was those people, even if you go to the handstand, now you can't quite. Would you follow? Our standing orders will find. They will look around and they will not see them. Yes, Honorable Sotsi.
Mr. Speaker, the undertaking was in writing and emphasized verbally by the cabinet, by the CAS, signed by the cabinet secretary.
Then take it up with the committee on implementation. You don't have to lament. If it is in writing by a cabinet secretary, take up the matter with our committee on implementation, so that the cabinet secretary can be. Are you a member there? Oh, you are the vice chair even. Then you are sitting on your rights. Honorable Sotsi, you have the wherewithal within the standing orders. Yes?
Mr. Speaker, the matter is still very active within the Environment Committee. So, because he was supposed to come back after 1 month, give a program of action, and then the committee will take action. So the matter is still very active within the Environmental Committee for it to be handled by the Implementation Committee. That is why the statement is directed to the same committee.
Well, where is the chair, Honorable Kareke Biuki? The vice chair, so Honorable Sophia Abdi. (7 p.m.) Going to be very well. A leader majority will take up the matter and pass it on to them. But on the day that the cabinet secretary is appearing, Honorable Sotsi, you should also appear before the committee to get the response. Yeah. The next request is by the member for Mvita, Honorable Abdul Somad.
Asante sana. Bwana Spika, kupitia sheria za kudumu nambari 44(2) cha nainuka kidete Bwana Spika kuulizia jawabu kutoka kwa mwenyekiti wa kamati husika ya usafiri kuhusu makubaliano ya pamoja yanayogusa mishahara na marupurupu almaarufu Collective Bargaining Agreement CBA kati ya halmashauri ya bandari ya Kenya Ports Authority na wafanyikazi wake ya mwaka wa 2020 na 21 na pia vile vile kuregeshwa kazini wafanyikazi 247. Bwana Spika, kwa miaka kumekuwa na mivutano na mitihani ambayo imesababisha kutowekwa sahihi hii CBA ya zaidi ya wafanyikazi 5,000 wa bandari ya Kenya, na maridhiano yalikuwa yawe tangu Novemba mwaka 2019 Bwana Spika, lakini maridhiano haya yakakubalika hadi Januari mwaka 2020. Bwana Spika, yatia wasiwasi ya kwa tangu Januari mwaka 2020 mpaka hii leo mishahara haya ambayo yaliweza kukubaliana na kuridhiana pamoja hayajalipwa, na kuna haja Bwana Spika ya kuanza mazungumzo ya maridhiano ya mwaka 2022 na 23 ambayo kisheria yanafaa kuanza Oktoba mwaka huu wa 2021, pamoja vile vile Bwana Spika kuregeshwa kazini wale wafanyakazi 247. Bwana Spika, kupitia haya natafuta suluhisho kupitia kwa mwenyekiti husika. Kwanza waweze kutuelezea ni mitihani gani ambayo yapo hadi hii CBA hadi leo haijatekelezwa. Pili, mikakati gani wizara imeweza kuweka kuhusu CBA ama maridhiano ya mwaka 2022 na 2023 yanaofaa kuanza mwaka huu, na hadi leo yale ya mwaka 2019-20 hayajaweza kutekelezwa Bwana Spika. Bwana Spika, mwenyekiti pia tunaomba atoe hakikisho ya kwa wizara husika itahakikisha mishahara ya hawa wafanyikazi wana Mombasa na Wakenya kwa jumla zaidi ya 5,000 yaanze siku ya Januari mwaka 2020 kama vile ilivyo ni haki yao ya kuweza kulipwa mishahara haya tangu Januari mwaka 2020, na uhakikisho ya kwa wale wafanyikazi waliofutwa 247 Bwana Spika mwaka 2021 mwaka 2011 waweze kuregeshwa. Asante sana Bwana Spika. Mimi ni kwa niaba ya wanamvita na Mombasa Abdul Somad Sharif Nasir.
Chair, Departmental Committee on Transport, Honorable Kosing.
I thank you, Honorable Speaker. Speaker, I want to seek your indulgence. I'm not very certain that this will be in my committee, because I listened very carefully, although it was in Kiswahili. I understand Kiswahili fairly well. I used to be in Tanzania at some stage. But Honorable Speaker, the issue is not about KPA, but about labor issues and employment issues, Honorable Speaker. And I think that should be the Committee of Labor and Social Relations, Honorable Speaker, rather than myself as transport, because the issue is not about KPA, it's about the rights of the welfare of the staff, Honorable Speaker. I want to seek your guidance, Speaker, before I respond.
So, Honorable Abdul Somad, the gist of Your statement is about collective bargaining agreement and the rights thereunder.
Mr. Speaker, with your guidance, whether I can now be able to put my case forward in English, if you will allow me to do so, and I may continue in Kiswahili, but for purposes of being able to understand with my co-chairs, Mr. Speaker.
No, he's asking, his point is, the issues you've raised are to do with the collective bargaining agreement, and some people who've been, according to you, dismissed, and that those appear to be labor matters, more than transport.
Mr. Speaker,
but you know, it's your choice.
I stand to be guided, Mr. Speaker, but however, the gist of the matter lies with the Kenya Ports Authority itself, because they had already agreed, they had already collectively agreed on these matters.
But
however, with your guidance...
Nevertheless, even if it's KPA, you know, it is a labor issue.
With your guidance... With your guidance, Mr. Speaker, we will accept that it goes to labor, as long as we just have a solution to these matters.
No, the Labor Committee can summon before it KPA. It doesn't matter whether it is KPA. You know, the issue is the substance is the labor issues. It is not about the institution, because you can have labor issues even with the Ministry of Transport. But it will not be the Committee of Transport. The relevant committee to deal with this issue, I think, is Committee of Labor and Social Protection. And the chairman is, I can see, is enjoying when you are misdirecting your issues to Honorable Kosing, and so he will say hallelujah, because it will go to the Honorable Kosing, and he will come and say, well, we don't deal with labor issues, and you come and report here. Yet, you know, if it went to the Honorable Kabinga, he would deal with the matter, I'm sure, appropriately. So I would suggest that you redirect the statement to Departmental Committee on Labor.
Very much obliged, Mr. Speaker, and we will be liaising with the Labour Committee, and thank you for your guidance.
How soon do you think, Honorable Kabinga, you would be able to respond?
Thank you, Chair. Actually, I was reasoning to him very keenly, and I was wondering whether he really meant to go to transport. However, this seemed to be a long-standing issue that needs some time, Honorable Speaker, and if the member is agreeable, we can do this in 3 to 4 weeks so that we can go deeper. I've reasoned to him keenly. This is not a new, this is an intensive kind of a case that has been there for some time, Honorable Speaker. It's not a case that we can dispense in a week or two. We really require to go deeper into it. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
And also, so much.
I thank you, Mr. Speaker. I think once he starts integrating the matter, it's very, very clear and straightforward. It's just that some people insist on doing other things. I'm confident knowing the committee's capability, they can be able to give us a response in earlier than the 3 weeks. So the earlier, the better. But thank you very much.
Very well. Next request is by the member for Kilifi North, Honorable Owen Bayer.
Sir. Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. I rise to read request for statement on causes and remedy of mass failure of students in KCSE 2021 in Kilifi County. Honorable Speaker, pursuant to the provision of Standing Order 44-2C, I rise to request a statement from the Chairperson, Departmental Committee on Education and Research regarding causes and remedy of mass failure of students in KCSE 2021 in Kilifi County. Honorable Speaker, during the 2021 Kenya Certificate of Secondary Education results, Kilifi County registered a total of 15,473 students who sat for the state examination, and out of which 7,268 were girls and 8,172 were boys. In general, students who did examination in private schools were 2,387, and those in public were 13,086, while 72 did not sit for the examination. Statistics show that students from Kilifi County performed dismally, with majority of them, that is 70%, scoring D+ and below, and with no single A plane. Honorable Speaker, the mass failure of students in the county is worrying and is attributable to a system with low internal efficiency and which does not guarantee the production of quality human resource, thus occasioning wastage of national resources. Honorable Speaker, it is on account of this concern that I seek your indulgence to order an inquiry by the Departmental Committee on Education and Research on the following. 1. The reasons for mass failure in examinations in the county with regard to how the education system is managed, teacher distribution, and the correlation between subject performance and the number of teachers deployed by the Teacher Service Commission, and their experiences and the deficits thereof. 2. Learning materials availability, especially in sciences in schools, and general preparedness of the school system to produce quality grades. 3. Quality of teachers, qualifications, work plans, and implementation of supervision and inspection by the county education officers in every sub-county in Kilifi County. And finally, the adequacy of facilities such as vehicles, offices, and other facilitative equipment and human resource in the county and sub-county education offices in the county. I thank you, Honorable Speaker. Mr. Speaker, unfortunately, the chair and the vice chair still are at large. I don't know whether this time you'll ask Junet again.
Now we'll ask the Honorable John Bandi to read the message so that there is a sharing of responsibility. The Honorable Kimunya is having to chase too many other issues. Honorable John Bandi, the chairperson, we were told earlier by the Honorable Junet that she is having some issues reconciling some figures in the budget of the ministry. Maybe you could undertake to...
Actually, Mr. Speaker, you're right. That's correct information. The chair is engaged in trying to have the budget figures balanced. But then this message will reach the chair. The questioner almost confused me when he was asking the chair to order for inquiry. So I was wondering whether he was seeking speaker's ruling or seeking for a statement from the committee. But be that as it may, I think he concluded by seeking for a statement. So the message will be passed to the chair of the Education Committee, and she will give an indication as to when the matter can be concluded. Thank you.
Very well. The last request is by the member of Voi, the Honorable Jonas Mulolwa.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Honorable Speaker, pursuant to Standing Order number 44-2C, I rise to request for statement from the Chairperson of the Departmental Committee on Environment and Natural Resources on the escalating cases of human-wildlife conflicts in Voi constituency. Honorable Speaker, in the last 2 months of May and June, a number of human-wildlife conflict cases have been reported in Voi constituency, Taita Taveta County. The cases arise as a result of marauding elephants from Savo East and Savo West National Parks, invading Bololo and Golia locations, as well as Kasigao, Miasenyi, Marungu, and Luasagala, causing injuries and loss of lives to the people, destroying crops and properties, thus affecting community livelihood. In some cases, these elephants have also imposed curfew to the villages. Honorable Speaker, the government, through the Ministry of Wildlife and other related agencies, has not addressed this challenge comprehensively. And it is against this background that I seek a statement from the committee of Departmental Committee on Environment and Natural Resources on the following. One, what measures are being taken to bring these human-wildlife conflicts in Voi constituency, particularly in Bololo and Golia locations, as well as Kasigao, Miasenyi, Marungu, and Luasagala areas to an end? Number two, what measures are being taken to compensate the families affected by this human-wildlife conflict in Voi constituency? Number three, could the ministry consider compensating victims of the said human-wildlife conflict, which has been pending for the last 5 years, despite claims having been made, and when will this happen? I thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, this human-wildlife conflict has been addressed. So many members of parliament, even from different counties, have been asking this question. But we are not seeing anything tangible. I think the last one was asked by Honorable Jessica Mbalu, who is my neighbor in Mtitwandei. And we are not seeing any action from the Ministry or the Kenya Wildlife Services. People's properties, everything green in the villages has been destroyed by elephants. In fact, nowadays they do not want water from the water points. They are drinking water from people's water tanks outside the houses. So it's a serious matter, Mr. Speaker. Thank you.
Honorable Mwadime.
Asante sana Mheshimiwa Spika. Kwa kweli hili tatizo limeenea pembe zote za Taita Taveta. Hivi sasa wa leo hii asubuhi kule sehemu za Mwatate katikati ya Taita Taveta, sehemu za Kigombo mali kunaitwa Mwanga na mahali pia kunaitwa Kituma. Ndovu mamia na mamia mandovu yalikuwa huko asubuhi, hata watoto kuelekea mashuleni asubuhi ilikuwa ni vigumu. Na hili tatizo tumekuwa tukilizungumza kwa muda, na sijui tutafanyaje mpaka hili tatizo litatuliwe, manake sehemu jimbo la Taita Taveta limezingirwa na Savo West na Savo East, na matatizo yamekuwa mengi sana. Mheshimiwa Spika, naomba mwenyekiti wa kamati inayohusika waingilie kati. Kuna huo tuliomba kitambo kutoka kule Mgeno lipitie Sagala pale Buhuta mpaka Kasigau, likitengenezwa lile huo litasaidia kwa ukubwa sana. Naomba tafadhali msaidie hawa wananchi, ni wa Kenya pia. Asante sana Mheshimiwa Spika.
Endeleeni kuomba
na tutaomba sana
kabisa. Mwenyekiti wa kamati husika, naibu wake wote wawili hawako. The question the statement will be referred to the chairman of the committee through the office of the leader majority. Next order.
Order number 8, motion. Consideration of the budget estimates for the financial year 2021-2022. Mover to reply.
Mover.
Thank you so much, Honorable Speaker. As I move to reply, Honorable Speaker, on behalf of the Budget and Appropriations Committee, Honorable Speaker, I want to thank all members, Honorable Speaker, who contributed in the general debate, Honorable Speaker, of the budget. I was here, Honorable Speaker, for the entire 3 days of debate, and we had very insightful contribution from members, others with reservations, Honorable Speaker, others with amendments, Honorable Speaker, and Mr. Speaker, we have taken those into consideration. Honorable Speaker, the ones that can be implemented when the budget is being implemented, Honorable Speaker, we will make sure that one is done. The ones that might not be accommodated in this financial year,
in the next financial year's budget, Honorable Speaker, we will make sure that, Mr. Speaker, they will be considered in the next financial year budget. Honorable Speaker, it should not be lost on members that we still have another budget that we will preside over, Honorable Speaker, the budget of 2022 to 2023. Honorable Speaker, and I know, I have no doubt in my mind that most of the members will still be members of Parliament, the 13th Parliament, save for a few who have decided to either go to the upper house, to the other house, or the others like John Buddy, who might decide to be governors. So, Honorable Speaker, we will make sure, Honorable Speaker, that those issues are considered because, of course, we have a budget ahead of us. Honorable Speaker, quite a number of issues were raised, and mostly issues around the pending bills. Honorable Speaker, every other day, every other report that we table here, Honorable Speaker, the departmental committees are raising these issues every other day. And I remember when the Cabinet Secretary, National Treasurer, was here, he directed that all ministries, all county governments to pay pending bills. But, Honorable Speaker, we need to have firm actions on that, Honorable Speaker, because sometimes when Treasury is also giving directives, they are also not giving provision for that funds so that monies can be paid in regard to pending bills. Honorable Speaker, the other issue is on stalled buildings. Honorable Speaker, there is one that all the time keeps coming in our books, the Mitihani House, the Kiridi House, and also our building, Honorable Speaker, here. We are going to make sure, Honorable Speaker, as a Budget and Appropriations Committee, we will make sure that enough funds are appropriated to make sure that those are completed. Honorable Speaker, as I reply, Honorable Speaker, because of the concerns that we have had from members, because of the various contributions that we have had from members, because budget making is a process, is a negotiated document. Every other day we are negotiating. Even up to this point, there were negotiations going on. So as I second, I want also to give notice that during the Committee of Supply, as I reply, Honorable Speaker, during the Committee of Supply, we will be proposing some amendments in the second schedule, Honorable Speaker, and during that time, Honorable Speaker, I will be able to give the details. Honorable Speaker, with those few remarks, I beg to reply.
Honourable members, I want to ask the Sergeant at Arms to confirm that we have quorum. This is budget making. Sergeant at Arms, can you check whether there is quorum? Because I'm just seeing everybody, after they make requests for statement, they just walk away. They think that is the most important aspect of business. That's not. Ordinarily, that is not even business. Do we have quorum? No? We don't have quorum? Yes, I guessed as much. You don't have? You know, the whips have forgotten their job. This is budget making. I can't put the question unless there is quorum. Is that true? Is it true now we have quorum? If they are walking, they are still walking out. No, but these are not whips. Can you ring the bell? Ring the bell for quorum. I will not put the question. We don't have quorum. This is budget. You see, some of them don't understand. They're even walking away still. This is a problem, I don't know.
Has ordered that the quorum bell be rung. At this particular juncture,
Now,
the House doesn't have the requisite number of members to allow for deliberations and passage of the report by the Honorable Kanini Kega's Budget Committee on Matters Budget. Sergeant terms are showing members of the National Assembly to the House to ensure that the House gets to pass that particular report by the Budget Committee. Pursuant to Standing Orders number 35 on matters quorum, subsection 2, a quorum when not present, the Speaker or the Chairperson shall cause the division bell to be rung, and if no quorum has been present at the expiry of 5 or 10 minutes, more time shall be given. The quorum has been achieved, and the House will continue with deliberations and consideration of the report by the Budget Committee.
Very well, honour members, we now have quorum. We now have quorum. We have the requisite quorum. The gracious ladies, three gracious ladies, honour members, I now put the question, which is that this House adopts a report of the Budget and Appropriations Committee on the budget estimates for the national government, the judiciary, and Parliament for the financial year 2021-2022, laid with the tip of the House on Tuesday, June 8, 2021, and pursuant to the provisions of Article 221 of the Constitution, Section 39 of the Public Finance Management Act 2012, and Standing Order 239, A, approves the issuance of a sum of Kenya shillings 1,945,671,474,883 from the Consolidated Fund to meet the expenditure during the year ending 30th June 2022 in respect of the votes contained in the first schedule to the order paper, subject to paragraph C, which is the Committee of Supply. B, makes a policy and financial resolutions contained in the second schedule to the order paper. And C, orders that the Speaker do now leave the chair to facilitate consideration of the said budget estimates with respect to each vote and programs in the Committee of Supply as contemplated under Standing Order 240. First and second schedule of the budget estimates as attached to the order paper. Will as many as of that opinion say aye? Aye. Will as many as of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it. Next order.
Order number 9, the County Allocation of Revenue Bill, Senate Bill number 30 of 2021, second reading, resumption of debate.
Yeah. Honorable Sankok, what's your point of order?
Honorable Speaker, it is usually in our culture to inform us when you have visitors. Yesterday and today, I've seen visitors from the Speaker's gallery. And against your tradition, you have not informed us who are they, Honorable Speaker.
Very well, Honorable Sankok, it's good you have drawn the attention of the chair to the presence of persons whom you refer to as guests. These are new staff, members of staff who have been inducted, who joined the Parliamentary Service Commission. The first group was here yesterday. This is the second group. There will be other groups to follow. If the Senate was sitting, they could also have gone to also see how business is transacted, because they have joined the Parliamentary Service Commission, and they will work in both houses. They will serve both houses. So they're just acclimatizing. And they are welcome to observe the proceedings of the House. I'm informed that the person who was on the floor is the Honorable Rachel Nyamai, member for Kitui South, and you have a balance of 6 minutes.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker had gone to the point last evening when I was talking about the Senate and also the counties being able to scrutinize the bills that are brought to them so that they do not pay for air or projects that were never implemented. This was in regard to the fact that they have been ordered to make payments, and Mr. Speaker, truth be told, that there are experts who are very good in doing very good paperwork, presenting for payment. So the counties need to be alive to this, and a case or a good example is an audit that was done in Kiambu County Assembly, where a bill of 80 million had been presented, but after scrutinizing, it ended up being only 19 million. You can see the difference, Honorable Speaker. So counties need to ensure that they do not pay for ghost projects, even as the order has been done. Honorable Speaker, I would like to go to my third point on distribution of projects in all wards. Mr. Speaker, this would have been done very well by BBI. I do not know whether it is coming back to life. I really hope that it will, because this BBI process and the product was going to give us a solution where Ward Development Fund is going to be established so that the governors in our counties do not put everything in places where there is high population, leaving out wards that do not have high population, or where a governor, as the case may be, looks at a place where he or she got a high number of votes and decides to concentrate on all their projects there. Mr. Speaker, equitable distribution of resources without caring where the vote went to during elections is a matter that needs to be looked into with regard to distribution of resources within our counties. Mr. Speaker, I would like also to talk about exchequer releases. It is true that the country has been affected and that funds are dwindling down, but it is important to note that government needs to make an effort to ensure that money goes to the counties so that it doesn't become so fashionable for people to say that there is no money from the national government, there are no exchequer releases, so that as much as we know that there is a challenge of COVID, that the exchequer releases are done within possible timelines, make the highest possible effort. Mr. Speaker, with regard to devolution of health, most aspects of health has been devolved, apart from the international programs, which cut across all counties. I would like to say that this is a matter that needs to be taken very seriously. We come from counties where we have realized that there are dispensaries, health centers, and even hospitals where there are no adequate equipment and where there are no adequate drugs. This needs to be taken seriously. More so, Honorable Speaker, counties need to also be serious with focusing on health education and health promotion. This has come as a lesson during this COVID-19, where we have seen counties like Kisumu County, where they have to handle the matter of COVID-19, and also the other 11 counties, or that 10 counties that make a total of 11 that are affected by COVID. That health education needs to be taken very seriously, ensure that prevention of disease is funded, so that counties do not just focus on curative health and forget the importance of preventive health, which is the most important aspect within health. Honorable Speaker, water is devolved, and this opportunity has been given to the counties. During public participation in most of our counties, community members will say all they need is water, water, and this is a case of my county, and I believe that the governor for Kitui can take this also upon herself. She has tried to do boreholes, but this is a subject that needs to be taken seriously. What our community members need today is water, as opposed to many other projects. Honorable Speaker, I would like to go to declaration of funds that are collected. Most counties today only focus on money that is coming from national government, but we are aware that counties are collecting huge amounts of money. Most of the counties have reported diminishing revenues. I do not know whether it is because of capacity to collect or it is because of corruption. This is a matter that needs to be looked into, Honorable Speaker. Mr. Speaker, also I would like to go to the matter of early childhood education. Education in this house will tell you that what a child sees within the first 4 years of life is extremely important to growth of the brains and also the attitude that they have for education. Early childhood education needs to be taken very seriously. Standardization of training, standardization of morale to the teachers who train early childhood education, standardization of payment so that we do not have demoralized early childhood educationists and leading to children who are demotivated from as early as 3 years. With those, Honorable Speaker, I beg to support. Thank you.
Member for Mwaya.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for giving me this chance to speak on this motion on what we popularly call Askara. I think we had passed the formula, but I would want to say something extra about the formula that we are using. Basically, that particular formula still, to some extent, really favors the larger counties at the expense of those that are populated and small. Me in particular, coming from Vihiga, we come from a county that is small, but the population is very high. So possibly in future, we shall have to relook again at that formula with the insight of seeing that the people are the ones who are really getting the funding and not the population or just the poverty index. And again, even when we talk about the poverty index, then again, we need a proper evaluation of the poverty index throughout the country so that the records we are using, even if they are by the Kenya Bureau of Statistics, are correct, and this will actually go along the way to benefit all the people, especially the masses where they are. So we go for the person instead of the geography and the size of the place. The second thing, Honorable Speaker, would be basically, yes, the money goes to the counties, but how do they use the money? For me, I think the counties still have to work very hard on issues of pilferage of the funds that they are given in terms of how they are able to monitor and oversight the monies that are given to them. To date, we still see many county projects given a lot of money, and yet they are unfinished, meaning that there's a lot of wastage. Thirdly, Honorable Speaker, I would also wish to speak on what my immediate predecessor talked about in terms of speaking here. The fact that the county governors now, when you hear them speak, they would wish even to become cabinet secretaries. It is so sad because they feel the cabinet secretaries have more funding and more regular funding than themselves. And they are giving a spirit of almost giving up on running the county governance. They are looking at themselves as people who must continuously fight for them to get funds. In fact, when you look at our governors speak, their last chairman was Oparanya, and now there's another person. He always turns into a trade unionist. In fact, I noticed they are now competing us in the trade union in agitation. And that picture is not good for this country, because this is a level of government that actually needs funding and regular funding. So for me, it's to call upon the central government and the executive and the treasury and the exchequer to actually fund the county governments. The history of county governments in this country is old, and me, I'm blessed to be a historian and a teacher of history. They are the kind of units that we had before and were thrown away because people preferred centralization of resources. The centralization of resources ended up not being very good for the country because we were unable to distribute or to redistribute resources across the country. And only few areas were benefiting at the expense of others. So sometimes even when I see them misuse money, yes, I call upon proper use of money within the counties. But I even prefer when they are using the money well distributed in every far-flung corner of Kenya than when that money is centralized. I want to believe that the Treasury is not having any business of killing the county government just like they were killed immediately after independence. And that is the direction we should never take again. So let's deal with them where they are to use the money properly, but let's never dream about going back to the old system where we centralize the usage of money within the country, because that was not good for us. Honorable Speaker, finally, on the issue of how the county governments deal with some of their sectors, I will only speak about one, and this is the vocational training sector. Formerly, this money was 2 billion to every county, and the money was ring-fenced so that it directly went to vocational training. When I talk about vocational training, I mean those polytechnics that are otherwise not covered under TVET and are not also covered by the ministry, and they are under the county government. But now, because they wrestled over how much will go to the county government and how much will remain in the central government, they decided to give part of that 2 billion as part of the revenue to the county government generally. So the risk we face is that those village polytechnics are going to die, because I see most of the governors going to put that money on other usage other than the real use, which was originally the vocational training at the village and the lowest level. Yet, when you look at the education system, CBC, we are now going the direction of TVET and vocational training. So this is an area which I wish the county governments, as I get this money and allocate themselves, they will actually still make sure that we don't kill the village polytechnics, which are very important to ourselves, leave alone the ECD, which has been spoken about. And lastly, Honorable Speaker, let the county governments be able, and let's get a mechanism on how the county governments can actually also give a report on what they collect and how they use them. There are a number of institutions in this country, including county governments, that don't want to declare their collections in form of taxes. The other group are the universities, but I'll speak about them later on, because they want more money and we want to give them money, yes. But they never want to declare how much they collect through what is called the parallel degree program. So let the county governments be oversighted to declare what they are collecting. Possibly this can go to the central pool, and then they are given back. With those few remarks, Honorable Speaker, I want to support.
Honorable Duale.
Mr. Speaker, thank you very much. I take this opportunity to contribute to the County Allocation of Revenue Bill 2021, Senate Bill number 30 of 2021, which was read on 3rd of June 2021. Mr. Speaker, this is the bill that horizontally divides resources between counties, and is prepared under Article 217 and Article 218 of the Constitution. And this is a bill that allows the transfer of resources from the consolidated fund to the county treasury. Mr. Speaker, if you look at this bill, counties have been allocated 370 billion this year, this financial year, 2021, 2022, and they're supposed to share these 370 billion as equitable share between all counties. And you can see there's a growth, there's a nominal growth compared to last year of about 53 billion, translating to 16.9% compared to the 316 billion which they were given in 2020-2021 financial year. Mr. Speaker, the Senate, in its wisdom, has amended the schedule. It has removed the second schedule and substituted it with a new schedule. And this new schedule has increased the recurrent expenditure ceilings for county assemblies. And my interest was, why was this increased? It was increased from 33.2 billion in last financial year, this financial year ending, to 35.6 billion. And this is mainly one on the pending bills, which are before counties, and car grants for our colleagues who are in the county assemblies. And the same, there was no increment on the county executive. It remains unchanged, just like in the financial year. What are my submissions in as far as this bill is concerned? Mr. Speaker, let me first look at the high expenditure on personal emoluments. And I want the controller of budget to listen to me if she is watching. That, Mr. Speaker, the law is very clear. The PFM Act is very clear. Section 25, subsection 1B of the PFM Act, of the PFM Act, not Act, of the PFM County Government Regulation 2015 sets the limit of the county government expenditure on wages, salaries, and benefits at 35%. Mr. Speaker, as of today, county governments are at 52.9%. Mr. Speaker, we did not ask, Kenyans did not ask for a devolved system of government so that counties become employment bureaus. Kenyans asked for a devolved system of government in order to get closer access to water, access to health care, access to basic ECD education, access to roads. We did not ask for devolution so that governors can issue, and particularly now that they are about to go to elections, can issue letters of employment left, right, and center. And Mr. Speaker, the counties that are notorious, according to the report of the Controller of Budget, are counties like Baringo, Bungoma, Elgeyo Marakwet, Embu, Garissa, Isiolo, Kirinyaga, Kitui, Machakos, Meru, name them, about 25 of them, who have gone outside the ceiling. Outside the ceiling. I'm not seeing Kajiado, so you better read the report of the county of the controller of budget. You know, I don't want to read for you. Kajiado is not there. So they have gone outside. And the failure is on the part of the controller of budget. The law has given power. The controller of budget, under its own act, Section 5 of the Controller of Budget Act, salaries, and in fact read together with Article 207, subsection 3 of the Constitution, the controller of budget is to enforce compliance, to set the 35% limit by exercising her powers on withdrawal from the county revenue account. Unless the controller of budget has gone to bed with his governors. Mr. Speaker, you know, when you see governors supporting BBI, it's not because they love BBI. When you see governors are doing this in terms of wages and violating the law, it's because they have compromised EACC. They have compromised the control of budget. They have compromised the officials of the Auditor General. This constitution created certain institutions independent to protect the law and to protect public resources. So the controller of budget must make sure those counties that have gone overboard. Mr. Speaker, my second point is the low expenditure on development budget. So Speaker, the controller of budget in her reports for the 9 months preceding this financial year 2020-21 said in her report that county government spent only 48 billion on development activities, representing an absorption level of 25%. Cumulatively, all the counties put together, they spent 193 billion. Section 107, subsection 2B of the PFM Act 2012, Mr. Speaker, this House passed, provides that over the medium and a minimum of 35% of county revenue must be spent on development. Speaker, work in our counties. There's nothing going. Maybe they have built an office for the governor. They have built an office, assembly for the county assembly. Nothing else. And I don't want to become a governor. Those counties with low absorption rates, development absorption rates, are notorious. Nairobi, Kisumu, Lamu, Baringo, Nakuru, Samburu, Garissa. My county is appearing everywhere. And the reason why we are appearing everywhere, because we elected a character who cannot fit to be a leader. And that's why the only money we gave to him, the only money we gave him, the World Bank, he's in court. Mr. Speaker, my third and final point is again the delay in the disbursement of the equitable share by the National Treasury. The National Treasury, Mr. Speaker, is killing devolution. Speaker, the exchequer of counties should reach their respective county revenue accounts as per the disbursement schedule approved by the Senate. The Minister for Finance has no choice. The schedule is approved by the Senate, the custodian of devolution. The minister must follow that schedule. And of course, he has not been following it. In the first 9 months of the financial year 2020-2021, the National Treasury has disbursed a total of 158 billion to counties at an equitable share of revenue raised nationally, which accounts for 50.2% of the annual equitable share of revenue. The disbursed amount of revenue raised during that financial year should have been higher. So you don't give money. So what has happened? Today, if you go to counties, including mine, officers are not working. Vehicles are grounded. Garbage is not collected. Electricity bill has not been paid. Not because there's no money, because the financial treasury is not disbursing enough money for development. Now governors have gone to a situation where they want to eat M&E, operations money, the fuel, the flowers, money for newspapers, money for office rent, money for Kenya Power. They are not even remitting statutory deductions. Finally, Mr. Speaker, it's on pending bills. The minister cannot come to this house and ask for compliance. The house to give him. We can't give you powers. The minister must give money, and county governments and national governments must pay. These pending bills is part of the national debt. The money Chinese, all these, we owe Chinese and other countries, is the same money Kenyans owe this government. Yes, a debt is a debt. If this government can't pay the debt of our people, then why should they bother about paying the debt of China? Why should they pay the Speaker? Because, Mr. Speaker, I went into a lot of pain. I said, what is a debt? There are Kenyans, I think the chair of budget will tell us, Kenyans are owed by county and national government close to 180 billion. Now, we are very much concerned about the debts that we owe IMF, World Bank, China. Why can't we first pay the debt we owe our people? Because if we pay our people, the economy will grow. Speaker, people are defying the instructions given by President Uhuru Kenyatta. In June, Madaraka Day in Narok, I was there. He said pending bills must be paid. Unless people working for the president doesn't want to follow his instructions, Mr. Speaker, pending bill is a cancer. It's affecting every village, every mamamboga. Let this government pay pending bills before we pay our debts to China and everybody else.
The Honorable Gikaria, member for Nakuru Town East.
He's not there. Are you going?
Very well. Not desiring to be in the house. The next on my list here is the Honorable Mugambi Gishuki, member for Thaya.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I rise to support. Honorable Speaker, this is a very important bill. As you know, we are devolving 370 billion to the county government. And Honorable Speaker, this is quite a substantial amount of money that we all need to see that it's put into proper use. Honorable Speaker, when you go around counties, you see a lot of wastage, you see a lot of projects, Honorable Speaker, started and not completed. Honorable Speaker, this happened to be a very risky year where everybody wants to start a project and live without care whether it will be completed or not. And this is the start and the beginning of all these pending bills, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, we should have a framework where we are sure that nobody will begin a project without providing total funds for that project. Because anytime we just start a project because we can afford or we put aside 10% mobilization fee, after, Honorable Speaker, when the contractors do the work and they submit their certificates, there's no money to pay, Honorable Speaker. And this is how we are authoring the pending bills from the word go. Honorable Speaker, we must have a framework. We must guide our counties to ensure that the way they budget does not create these pending bills from the word go. Honorable Speaker, we know that the county assemblies should be able to monitor and to oversight the executive at the county level. But when you look at the capacity, Honorable Speaker, that some of those county assemblies have, they're not able, Honorable Speaker. And most of them actually get guidance on what to vote for, on what to do from the same executive. Honorable Speaker, we need to have a framework of strengthening oversight at the county level, Honorable Speaker. We either provide budget offices or offices that can give capacity, build capacity within the county assembly, so that county assemblies are properly equipped to oversight the executive, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, we've been having this debate of degree which many members are taking so casually. But Honorable Speaker, when we talk about 370 billion, and then you just want to pick somebody on popularity basis just because he's able to go around every morning in all homes taking a cup of tea, and then you tell them to go and oversight 370 billion. Honorable Speaker, we are failing from the word go. And that is why this issue of the degree should be taken very seriously, so that the people we take to counties, the people we bring even to this parliament, Honorable Speaker, are able to understand their roles. They are able to take their job description, Honorable Speaker, seriously. And it's the only way we can make sure that we have value for money, Honorable Speaker. Because whether we give all the money from the exchequer, and then the money, those funds are wrongly applied, we'll never get value for our money, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, when you also look at the expenditure we have at county at the current level, Honorable Speaker, it's worrying. It's worrying that first, the current expenditure being mainly salaries, it will always take precedent of development. And if we continue allocating the huge amounts of funds devolved on only salaries, will not go far, Honorable Speaker. Some of these counties have been receiving extremely huge amounts of money. You look at a county getting 12 billion every year, and in 10 years they've gotten 120 billion. But you go on the ground, you can't see, Honorable Speaker, where this money has been applied. But Honorable Speaker, occasionally you see that the same funds are coming back to Nairobi and perhaps being invested in structures, Honorable Speaker, that do not relate to the counties, Honorable Speaker. So we are bleeding, Honorable Speaker, through counties because of poor oversight, because of poor application of funds. And if we want to go forward in this country, when we remember that some of the default functions are so critical for the well-being of this country, we must make sure that the funds at the county level are properly applied. Honorable Speaker, we have devolved agriculture, for instance. Agriculture is the backbone of this country. Almost over 60% of our economy is reliant on agriculture. And when we have devolved agriculture, and then the funds allocated in those areas are not properly applied, there is no way, Honorable Speaker, this country will go forward. There's no way, and therefore, Honorable Speaker, we request that even through this House, we strengthen the PFM Act to make sure that we have even stronger mechanism to guide and oversight the big funds that we are taking to the counties, Honorable Speaker. You know that even when we were pushing for BBI, we are pushing even to increase the funding to up to 35%, Honorable Speaker. And if we push more funds without better controls, then it means we are increasing wastage, Honorable Speaker. There is also one major role that has been involved, like environment. Environment, Honorable Speaker, is very critical in this country. But most counties do not take environment seriously. In some cases, we've been seeing some counties even hawking, Honorable Speaker, hawking garbage. In my county, we have had that practice where garbage is hawked from one constituency to another and to another one, because there's no proper plan. Yet there are funds to do those kind of functions. These are some of the very important functions that have been devolved but are not being taken seriously, Honorable Speaker, at county level. These a function like environment. It's affecting our health. It's affecting our climate change. It's affecting so many areas, Honorable Speaker. Yet it's being taken and treated extremely casually in some counties. Honorable Speaker, we have to come with very strong framework to oversight the funds going to the county. And our brothers at the Senate level, we believe they should do much more to guide and to oversight the counties. And we hope going forward, the national government has done very well in terms of providing funds for pending bills. And we hope the county will also be pushed through the Senate to do the same. Honorable Speaker, remember this House had supported that any county that is not clearing pending bills, they do not get funds. And those funds can be released, should be released directly to those who are owed money, Honorable Speaker. The other day we looked at the report of pending bills, and only the county assemblies who forwarded their pending bills, but the executive did not, Honorable Speaker. And this is a matter that the Senate should follow and ensure the executive part of the counties also provide their pending bills, and they are pushed to clear them, Honorable Speaker. I beg to support.
The Honorable Sotsi.
Mr. Speaker, I rise to support this bill, which is very important, a bill allocating funds between the national government and our 47 counties. Mr. Speaker, just like has been said by other members, we have a lot of challenges in our counties. First of all, the issue of pending bills, which even in the budget that we are discussing, is one of the issues that has been raised to be a problem even to the national government. And I want to support the proposal by the Budget Committee that we need to have a fund domiciled at the Treasury to manage this challenge of pending bill. They have proposed that we have a long-term bond that will be used to manage the problem of pending bill. I think the same should be done to various county governments, because we understand there are various reasons why counties have pending bills. One of the reasons is when funds are disbursed late to the counties, and they have programs which they need to implement, and they are not able to implement those programs in time, then they end up having challenges of pending bill. But largely it's because of non-adherence to the law, particularly the Public Finance Management Act and the Public Procurement and Disposal Act, which some counties don't adhere to. The second challenge, Mr. Speaker, is the issue of disbursement, Mr. Speaker. We saw last night how some of our governors were making very desperate calls to the government to release money to them. Really, we must be very sympathetic to the governors, because how do you run counties without money? So I think in a way, we have to relook at our laws in terms of releasing money. That we can even say the first charge on the exchequer should be the loans, the debts, but then the second charge should be release of the money to the counties. Because they cannot run their programs successfully when funds are released to them very late. They plan, they have plans in place, but then those plans don't work because there is no money. The money comes late. When the money comes, maybe they have very short time to use that money. I think this is a very serious problem. And as Honorable Duale has said, the Office of the Controller of Budget, one of the functions of the Office of the Controller Budget is to monitor the programs and projects in the counties. I think they should be in a better position to advise the government on the issue of release of funds. We know one of the challenges could be maybe there is no exchequer. But when exchequer is found, I think it is very critical that county government must be given priority. Because in law, they are required to have the funds as required in law. Mr. Speaker, the other challenge we have in counties is oversight. As has been said by one of the members here, I think a lot needs to be done to improve the oversight function in the counties. We do not want just to hear about MCAs wanting to impeach governors. That's when you hear about them. We want effective oversight in the counties under the Senate. I think it's high time the Senate stop poking their holes in the functions of the National Assembly. And they focus on the many challenges that we have in our counties, including the challenge of pending bills. There are so many issues that the Senate can deal with. Sometimes I see the Senate handling issues which are primarily issues of the National Assembly, when we have a lot of issues that require their interrogation as a Senate. So oversight is really, really an issue on the management of counties, right from the county assembly to the Senate, which I think we need to look at it and strengthen the oversight. If it will require increasing the capacity, we need to increase their capacity so that they can perform. And as has been said by one of the members there, the issue of degree requirement, I think is important. We need to have people who can understand complex audit reports by the Auditor General so that they can raise questions. But, Mr. Speaker, if we have a situation where we have members of the county assembly whose only strength is that they were able to mobilize votes, but they can't even speak English, that they can even speak in vernacular. Mr. Speaker, that becomes a problem. So I think the issue of oversight is very key in the counties and is something that we must look at so that we can enhance devolution. Mr. Speaker, some of the counties have challenges in terms of the money allocated to them, what they spend on recurrent expenditure, and what they remain to spend on capital projects. And I think some of these counties, if we are not careful, they may have challenges in the future. That is why some of us were supporting BBI, because BBI was going to increase
feel of the monies that they pay in terms of those levies. And therefore, Mr. Speaker, maybe Senate should come up with a mechanism whereby every county should publish the kind of monies that they collect. We have had some inefficient systems of manual collection of revenue through sales and revenue and levies that are collected from our farmers, from the production that come from the counties, especially sand, stones, and such kind of things. And the monies are collected manually. So that there is likelihood of pilferage or loss of such revenues, and it's a lot of money. If that money is put into to the rightful use, then it can supplement or complement the monies that they're getting from the exchequer. Mr. Speaker, our county governors must be tasked to account for the monies that they are receiving. And in accounting, budget making process should be a priority, and the priority of the asset of the Senate, even as they oversight our counties, because you find that our governors or the executive in the county government are allocating so much money for what I would call social handouts, and in the name of social welfare. You envisage, or you see in the Constitution, the drafters of the Constitution envisaged a situation whereby the government would come in handy, according to Article 43 of the Constitution, to empower people or to bring about economic, social rights. But now what the county governments are doing, they're doing handouts that are really going to, maybe with a focus of winning the citizenry for them to vote for them in the coming elections. We cannot have our tax money being given out to buy blankets, mattresses, at will, even when there is no need to do that. Because as opposed to these handouts, or because they're just handouts of foodstuffs, of gas and gas cylinders and stuff, we should have a situation whereby the county governments are empowering our people economically, so that then they can produce and be in a position to procure the blankets and the gas cylinders and things like that, as opposed to the handouts that they're giving, so that then we do not get value for our money. Mr. Speaker, Article 43 talks of social rights. And one of the social rights and economic right is the issue of health, access to health. Our county government must be seen to be investing heavily in matters health. You walk into our health centers, all you see is, or you get there cheap medicine, that's painkillers, there are no doctors, there are no sufficient nurses. You go to down to our county governments, the issue of water is a big issue. Nobody is investing in such programs that are for posterity, as opposed to what I have just said. And therefore, we would want to see our county governments investing more in investments that are for posterity. Mr. Speaker, we have also had issues with our county governments procuring outside PFMA, outside PPDA, that is Public Procurement and Disposal Act, because we cannot have institutions procuring beyond their budgets as envisaged in the Public Procurement and Disposal Act. Therefore, in accordance with the call by the President, our President, His Excellency Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta, that every procurement be done above board and be a procurement, so that then there's no much of human interaction. That will ensure, and I hope that we're going to have an ICT system whereby if procurement is done beyond what is allocated in the budget, then there's a lockdown, so that then you cannot procure at all beyond what is envisaged in the budget that is approved by the Director General for Budget. Mr. Speaker, I also want to speak on the issue of releases to counties in time. As I had said before, you realize that so much delays that are occasioned by the Treasury, because they give priority to the ministries and departments that are within the national government. But our county governments are left at the mercy of the Treasury and begging, whereas they should be getting the first priority. The surest form of devolution, if we are to spur growth and economic development, then it must be at the county level. Because once the county government start doing projects at the county level, the contractors are local. That means that money will have a ripple-down effect to the people. Finally, Mr. Speaker, on physical planning, you realize that our cities or our towns are growing tremendously because of devolution. But in terms of physical planning, you find that the county government do not have or are not building capacity so that then they can be able to deal with the growth that is happening within our county government or within our towns. I would give an example of 2 towns in my constituency, Kinangop. One is called Engineer Town, another one is called Jabini Town. These are towns that are growing tremendously. But you find that the government or the county government is not investing in terms of planning how sewer is going to be taken care of, in increasing water capacity. There are no play fields, markets, such kind of things. And I think it's just about time that we find in these budgets that are done by the county government a situation whereby they are doing some level of expansion of such facilities or amenities, so that then they can be able to deal with the growth that is happening within those towns. Finally, Mr. Speaker, His Excellency the President Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta, when he was re-elected for the second time, he spoke of the Big Four agenda. That is, and on top of that, it was the issue of manufacturing. Mr. Speaker, we would want to see our county governments putting money into some of these issues to do with manufacturing, building factories in our constituencies and in our sub-counties. We have seen a situation whereby in Ghana, a country like Ghana, for example, they came up with a policy, 1 factory per district. And that is what they are doing, they're implementing that. And that is going to deal a blow on the issue of unemployment, the issue of increasing the ability of our people to do what they're supposed to do, I mean, in terms of their personal growth. Because once we have these factories at the level of our sub-counties, then we are saying that we are not going to sell our produce, we are going to sell products in the near future. And therefore, Mr. Speaker, I support and I pray that we see prudence in the utilization of these funds. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honorable Ali Athman, member for Lamu East.
Asante Mheshimiwa Spika. Mheshimiwa Spika, ningependa kuchukua fursa hii kuungana na wenzangu kuunga mkono huu mswada ambao uko mbele yetu kuhusiana na ugawi wa pesa ambazo zinaenda kwa serikali za kaunti. Mheshimiwa Spika, kwa kweli Wakenya mwaka 2010 walisimama kidete kuhakikisha kwamba wamepitisha katiba ambao zitakuwa na serikali za counties. Mheshimiwa Spika, kutokana na hilo matarajio ya Wakenya yalikuwa ni mengi sana. Miongoni mwao ni kuona ya kwamba huduma zimeweza wafikia kule mashinani na kuhakikisha kwamba usawa umepatikana na kuhakikisha kwamba wamefurahia na zile huduma katika nchi hii ambazo zilikuwa zifike kwa kila hizi sehemu ambazo ziliweza kugawanywa sehemu 47 katika nchi hii. Mheshimiwa Spika, vile vile ni jambo muhimu sana na ni jambo ambalo lahitaji kuzingatiwa ya kwamba zile fedha ambazo zinaenda katika serikali hizi za kaunti ni fedha ambazo zahitaji kuwahudumia wananchi, Mheshimiwa Spika. Lakini kwa masikitiko makubwa, Mheshimiwa Spika, tumeweza kushuhudia kwa takriban hivi sasa awamu ya pili kuanzia serikali hizi zianze shughuli zake kwamba kumekuwa na matatizo mengi sana, Mheshimiwa Spika, hususan katika zile hali za uongozi ambao unapatikana katika sehemu hizi. Mbali ya furaha ya Wakenya kutaka serikali za kaunti ziwe zinafanya kazi ama kutaka serikali ya kitaifa iweke serikali za kaunti kwa kila sehemu 47 hizi ambazo zipo, Mheshimiwa Spika, lakini yale yanayoshuhudiwa hivi sasa, Mheshimiwa Spika, imekuwa ni matatizo mengi sana katika serikali hizi za kaunti, Mheshimiwa Spika. Na ukweli ni kwamba Wakenya wanahitaji huduma, Mheshimiwa Spika, lakini yale madhila na mateso ambayo yanaonekana hivi sasa, Mheshimiwa Spika, yanasikitisha sana, Mheshimiwa Spika. Mfano utapata kwamba, Mheshimiwa Spika, wafanyikazi wa kaunti saa nyingine inafika hadi miezi 3-4 hawajalipwa hizi fedha, Mheshimiwa Spika.
na pengine niseme tatizo hili mara nyingi huwa linaambatana na kutokana na kuchelewa kulipwa hizi fedha, Mheshimiwa Spika, kwa hizi serikali. Lakini mbali ya hayo, Mheshimiwa Spika, nataka tukumbuke ya kwamba haya yote yalifanyika kwa sababu ya kusawazisha na kwa sababu ya kuweza kuinua na kuendeleza uchumi, Mheshimiwa Spika. Lakini yanapopatikana haya, Mheshimiwa Spika, huwa ni jambo la kusikitisha sana. Utapata ya kwamba kama nilivyosema, wafanyikazi wanateseka. Utapata ya kwamba pengine mtu ameweza kufanya kazi yake, ameweza kufanya kazi ambayo labda pengine amepewa na hizi counties, na pengine ameweza kuchukua mikopo benki kwa sababu ya kufanya kazi hizi, lakini utapata ya kwamba pesa hizi anaweza kuzipata baada ya mwaka mmoja ama miaka miwili, Mheshimiwa Spika. Kutokana na hayo, Mheshimiwa Spika, ni vyema bunge hili na bunge la seneti na hata wale wajumbe ambao wako kule counties kuhakikisha kwamba mwongozo huu na mwelekeo huu unaendeshwa kwa namna unavyotakikana, kwa namna Wakenya wanavyofurahia, Mheshimiwa Spika. Vile vile ningependa kuchukua fursa hii kuiambia serikali ya kitaifa kuhakikisha kwamba hali hizi za kuweza kuchelewesha hizi fedha ambazo zinapangiwa katika serikali hizi za kaunti, wajaribu kuhakikisha kwamba ni mambo ambayo yanaweza kuwekwa katika njia ya usawa, Mheshimiwa Spika. Kwa sababu yanapotokezea haya, Mheshimiwa Spika, ndipo yale matatizo yote ambayo tunayozungumza hapa kuhusiana na mambo ambayo yanapatikana, ndio yale ambayo hivi sasa wengi wameweza kuyazungumza, ya kwamba utapata kwamba uchafu umedorora katika counties nyingi, utapata ya kwamba huduma nyingi hazifanyiki, na hivi sasa kama sijakosea, Mheshimiwa Spika, counties wamepeana ilani ya kwamba ifikapo tarehe 24 mwezi huu basi watasitisha huduma zao zote. Hili ni kutokana na kwamba serikali ya kitaifa bado haijawapelekea ule mgao wao ambao ulikuwa umestahili kupelekewa katika ile bajeti ya mwaka 2020 na 2021, Mheshimiwa Spika. Mheshimiwa Spika, kwa kweli kuna umuhimu mkubwa sana ya kuhakikisha kwamba Wakenya wamefurahia na huduma ambazo zinapatikana katika serikali zote mbili, Mheshimiwa Spika. Wale wanaongoza katika serikali hizi mbili wahakikisha kwamba Wakenya wameweza kufurahia na huduma hizo na kuhakikisha kwamba wameweza kuwajibika na kazi zao, Mheshimiwa Spika, na kuhakikisha kwamba wameweza kuonyesha uongozi mzuri, Mheshimiwa Spika. Kwa sababu, Mheshimiwa Spika, nafikiri haitokuwa ni jambo la busara tusimame hapa leo tuanze kulaumiana, kwa sababu dunia hii hakuna ambaye ni mkamilifu, Mheshimiwa Spika. Mkamilifu ni Mwenyezi Mungu peke yake, Mheshimiwa Spika. Lakini unapochukua majukumu na kuchukua kiapo cha kuhakikisha kwamba umekubali kuchukua wadhifa yule ambao unaopewa kama kiongozi, basi ni jambo la busara kuhakikisha ya kwamba umeweza kutekeleza yale ambao ni ya usawa, Mheshimiwa Spika. Mheshimiwa Spika, matatizo ni mengi ambayo yako katika serikali hizi za counties, na ukweli ni kwamba kuna dharura na kunahitajika pakubwa kuweza kuyarekebisha matatizo haya. Tukianza kwanza na kuhakikisha ya kwamba migao hii ambayo tunaweza inagawanywa kila mwaka kwa serikali hizi za county, kuhakikisha kwamba imeweza kufikishwa katika kila county kwa wakati unaofaa bila ya kucheleweshwa, Mheshimiwa Spika. Vile vile wale wahusika ambao wanasimamia fedha hizi katika sehemu hizo ni wahakikishe ya kwamba wameweza kupeana ama kutekeleza zile huduma zinazohitajika, Mheshimiwa Spika, kwa namna inavyofaa na namna inavyotakikana, Mheshimiwa Spika. Vile vile wafanyikazi ama tuseme, Mheshimiwa Spika, swala zima la siasa katika sehemu hizi, utapata kwamba, Mheshimiwa Spika, kuna malalamishi pia katika counties nyingi. Utapata ya kwamba wale ambao ni wahusika wakuu zaidi wanatembea kisiasa badala ya kutembea kiuongozi. Mheshimiwa Spika, ninavyofahamu mimi ya kwamba yeyote ambaye ametoka katika kaunti ile na anayestahili kupewa labda kazi ambao anaweza kuifanya katika sehemu ile, haimaanishi kwamba labda pengine awe ni mtu wako kisiasa ama awe si mtu wako kisiasa. Mheshimiwa Spika, la msingi ikiwa anastahili kupata kazi ile, basi ni sawa wale wahusika waweze kuchukua fursa hizi, Mheshimiwa Spika, na kufanya usawa katika kuendeleza mambo kama haya. Mheshimiwa Spika, kwa haya machache, Mheshimiwa Spika, ningependa tu zaidi kuihimiza serikali ya kitaifa kuhakikisha kwamba matatizo haya hayapatikani, kwa sababu yanapotokezea mambo kama haya, Mheshimiwa Spika, ndiposa zile shida nyingi ambazo utaziona zinajitokeza katika counties na lawama zinakuwa nyingi na ule uchumi unaanza kuleta shida katika sehemu zile, kwa sababu zile fedha huwa hazijakuwa na utaratibu ama zinapokuwa hazijafika katika sehemu hiyo. Mheshimiwa Spika, basi ni wengi ambao wanapata matatizo na wanapata shida sana kutokana na hali hii. Kwa haya machache, Mheshimiwa Spika, naunga mkono mswada huu na kuhakikisha kwamba hili limeweza kutekelezwa kwa njia inayostahili. Mheshimiwa Spika, asante.
The Honorable Ole Sankok, you're on this list, but you had already spoken to this. Yes. So I'll give to the next one, and that is the Honorable Martin Owino, member for Ndiwa.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. First, I want to say I rise to support this bill, County Allocation Revenue Bill number 30, 2021. Mr. Speaker, I'm a supporter of devolution, and I believe as a house we have to put all the efforts required so that we can have our devolution thrive, both addressing issues at the county level and also at the national level. Mr. Speaker, one area which I'm really passionate with is health. And I think even if we give the counties money or they generate money from facilities, there was an order which was very efficient. And Dr. Nyikal really participated in authored this, Facility Improvement Fund. Mr. Speaker, that means only that the funds have to be generated in the facilities for service, and those funds were retained in the facilities in order to provide and improve infrastructure and others so that the facility can be afloat financially. But there was a circular, Mr. Speaker, that came and removed those, meaning that those facilities in A&A now goes to the county revenues account and then reauthorized to be used. And when they go there, Mr. Speaker, they get swallowed up in the budgeting. And they can only now be given money back as budget, which actually never come back in time. Right now, Mr. Speaker, as I stand here, all health workers in my county have down the tools. Some people are even being removed from the wards because there are no personnel. The Speaker, on that vein, there were some facilities which were taken and made COVID-19 treatment centers. That means all the services which they were doing, including delivery and others, which used to generate income to those facilities, vanished. The Speaker, those facilities are not even paying now their utilities, not even support staff. So those facilities are dead. And you can imagine how people are suffering. The Speaker, talking about this bill, I want also to add my voice to this pending bill. Mr. Speaker, this pending bill, which is being talked about, has become another animal to defraud Kenyans. There's no pending bill. If we are doing program-based budget, meaning you put a program or an intervention and you allocate funds for it. So what is happening here is that the Treasury is not disbursing money to the counties. So we should talk of money being owed to the counties in another way. But now, if we don't disburse money efficiently, on time, these contractors who have done their work bring litigations. So we have other money accruing on top of what was supposed to be paid for a program. Now, if you lump it and you get to pay them like that, that is where one member here said, instead of 90-something, it came back to 40s. It's another vehicle which we are going to lose money through. And I urge this House to look into that very carefully, Mr. Speaker. The other issue is, Mr. Speaker, there is a disconnect between some of the funding for the counties and also national obligations. For example, Mr. Speaker, the disasters, the fires, the floods, and all the food insecurity are left for the counties because agriculture is devolved. But there is no sufficient money allocated to this. I think I'm preaching to the choir here because the members of parliament are really struggling when it comes to disaster. They expect you to respond with your CDF, and you don't see any effort from the counties because they don't have adequate allocation of this. Mr. Speaker, I don't know, we talked about disaster management bill. I don't know where that is, but I think this should be centralized so that we have a proper response. The Speaker was watching television and I saw how the land was moving underneath some houses, I think in the coastal region. And it's very painful because the victims are alone. The county government would like to respond, but there are no resources. How do they do it? The national government response is not clear, it's not streamlined. And we cannot respond to disasters from Nairobi to all counties. So there's a disconnect even in funding. And I think there's a gap, Mr. Speaker, that this House should look into. The other disconnect is, and the safe fly, Mr. Speaker, is a menace which cuts across many counties, from Lambwe Valley to Mbeere North and South, and many other areas in Western area. Mr. Speaker, today, as we speak, we lose 20 billion of economical nature because of the mortalities of livestock, the drugs that are used. And but I thank Kentech, which has been dismally funded to do this job. Mr. Speaker, to date, we have just allocated 180 million for Kentech. And I've just compared with the loss which incur every year, 20 billion. This is a livelihood of our Kenyans, which could have done better if the proper intervention of this fly was done. To me, if we allocate this money, 180 million now, that's what we are appropriating here, that it means then it's kind of a national government funding the Kentech to do the work. Then the counties will have no response. And this fly continue to ravage the livelihood of many Kenyans. So what I'm trying to say, as much as we push activities to counties, there are some funding gaps that negates those activities. And Mr. Speaker, I think that should be looked into in perspective so that we have good funding. In fact, the Ministry of Agriculture had recommended we appropriate or allocate 710 million to cater for research and interventions. And I just see 180. I don't know whether it's possible in the Committee of Supply, look into this item and make sure that the livelihood of the farmers in this region are also considered. With those remarks, Mr. Speaker, I support, and let's continue to support devolution. That is the only way to go as we usher in efficiency and effectiveness. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honorable Koi Waluke, member for Sirisia.
Honorable Speaker, I'm not ready. Yeah.
Very well. Very well. We will now have the Honorable Shaban Namsi, member for Taveta.
Asante sana Mheshimiwa Spika kwa kunipatia fursa hii, nami pia nizungumzie mjadala huu ambao ni kuhusu sheria ya ugavi wa pesa kwa maeneo 47 ya ugatuzi. Mheshimiwa Spika, ukweli ni kwamba Wakenya walifurahikia sana jambo hili la ugatuzi, lakini vile vile muda unavyoenda kukawa kuwa pesa kwanza zikifika zinafujwa, pili pesa hazifiki kwa wakati unaofaa, na tatu mara nyingine wanavuka mwaka pesa zote hazijafika kwenye maeneo ya ugatuzi. Mheshimiwa Spika, wenzangu wote wengi wamependa kuzungumzia masuala ya wanakandarasi ambao wanadai serikali za ugatuzi kila mahali hapa nchini. Hata serikali kuu pia nayo inadaiwa kulingana na vile ambavyo kazi zinavyo, utendaji kazi wa wanakandarasi na pesa kucheleweshwa kuwafikia. Mheshimiwa Spika, kilio kipo kila mahali, na kilio kikubwa haswa ni wafanyikazi wa eneo za ugatuzi karibu ya kila mahali wanalia kuwa mishahara haijalipwa kwa muda mrefu. Mheshimiwa Spika, hawa watu ni Wakenya ambao walikuwa wamesherekea jambo hili la ugatuzi, na jambo hili sasa ni kama linawaangamiza. Linatuangamizia watu kwa sababu mtu atalipa nyumba pale anapoishi, alipokodisha. Vile vile mtu atanunulia watoto wake chakula namna gani, na hata kusomesha watoto namna gani. Mheshimiwa Spika, kila mahali ukienda kule tunakotoka maeneo bunge ni vilio. Mheshimiwa Spika, hakuna haja ya sisi kuzungumzia swala hili na kuliweka kwenye sheria, kwa sababu ugavi wa pesa uko ndani ya sheria, tukishaipitisha na tutaipitisha, lakini pesa hizi zisiwafikie wale wananchi kwa maeneo yale ya ugatuzi. Mheshimiwa Spika, langu ni kumzungumzia haswa waziri ambaye anasimamia masuala ya fedha kwenye serikali ya kitaifa, waziri Ukur Yatani, kuhakikisha kuwa haswa yeye ambaye alikuwa gavana kabla hajafika hapo pale alipo sasa, anajua matatizo yaliyoko kule kwenye maeneo ya ugatuzi. Mheshimiwa Spika, si hivyo tu, ukiangalia hata huduma zile ambazo tunazihitaji kule maeneo yetu, maeneo ya bunge, yani katika maeneo ya ugatuzi, wananchi wanateseka kwa sababu hata huduma ya afya, maji ya kunywa, kazi za kilimo zote zimeharibika. Mheshimiwa Spika, bila wafanyikazi wa serikali kuweza kusaidia wakulima ama wananchi kupata maji ya kunywa, basi magonjwa yatazidi kila siku, kwa sababu utakosa chakula na mwisho utakosa maji ya kutumia na mwisho itakuwa ni ugonjwa. Sasa huduma za afya kule mashinani zote zina matatizo makubwa sana kwa sababu fedha hazipo. Utakuta kazi za kikandarasi zimefanywa, zimeachwa nusu, wale waliomalizia wameondoka na ufunguo za maeneo yale. Kwa hivyo maeneo yale hata hayawezi kutumika. Majengo yamejengwa, yamebaki hayawezi kutumika kwa sababu wanakandarasi hawajalipwa. Mheshimiwa Spika, hatuwezi kuwa na nchi ambayo tunajivunia kuendelea kama watu wetu wanalia hawapati mishahara. Mheshimiwa Spika, hatuwezi kuwa na maendeleo kama wananchi hawawezi kupata maji safi ya kunywa. Mheshimiwa Spika, hatuwezi kusema kuwa sisi tunategemea kilimo nchini wakati wafanyikazi wanaosimamia na kufunza wakulima juu ya kilimo hawajapatiwa mishahara yao kwa miezi hiyo yote. Mheshimiwa Spika, nafikiria si siri kuwa magavana wote wamekuwa wakilalamika kuwa pesa hazijafika. Lakini vile vile pia magavana wakipata pesa zikifika kwenye serikali za ugatuzi, wanatakikana kuhakikisha kuwa wamesimamia kisawasawa ili pesa zile ziweze kutumika kwa huduma zile ambazo zinatakikana kumsaidia mwananchi pale chini mashinani. Mheshimiwa Spika, watu wengi wamekuwa na shida, haswa wanakandarasi kuwa hawapati malipo. Wengine wamechukua mikopo kwenye benki na wanashindwa kulipa kwa sababu ya kuweza kutekeleza miradi ile ambayo walikuwa wamepatiwa kwenye kandarasi. Mheshimiwa Spika, lazima waziri na serikali yetu ya Kenya ihakikishe kuwa pesa zinatoka kwa wakati unaofaa, ndio serikali pia isiingie hasara. Maanake zinavyochelewa kulipwa ndio wale wanakandarasi pia wanadai zaidi. Mheshimiwa Spika, swala hili la malipo limecheleweshwa na serikali inaingia hasara, mwananchi anaingia hasara, maanake pesa hazifiki kwa muda unaofaa. Mheshimiwa Spika, sina mengi ya kusema isipokuwa kuunga mkono kuwa isiwe tu ni sheria tunapitisha, pesa hizi bilioni 370 ni lazima zifikie maeneo ya ugatuzi ili fedha hizi ziweze kuwasaidia wananchi waweze kufurahia matunda ya ugatuzi. Mheshimiwa Spika, naunga mkono.
The Honorable Kimari, member for Mathioya.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I also rise to support and give my voice into this very important bill on revenue allocation into our 47 counties. Honorable Speaker, the issue of devolution cannot be gainsaid, and I think this is a very important thing that came into this country. And we have seen monies allocated to the counties continue to rise, Honorable Speaker. And for me, Honorable Speaker, what we would want to see is perhaps we need now to start seeing better oversight. Better oversight and those areas to be strengthened, Honorable Speaker, especially involving our county assemblies, Honorable Speaker. We know in a lot of these houses, counties, assemblies, there is a lot of intimidation to the point where they are not able to carry out their work thoroughly and well. We need to ensure that these can be anchored into law. We can ensure, for instance, issues like even county ward funds, which were going to be factored in the BBI. Some of those issues, Honorable Speaker, can even be done by this House without necessarily going into a referendum. We need to ensure that our county assemblies are solid, they have their own budgets, their wards have certain amounts already factored, so that as they work for their respective counties, they will be able to work knowing that they will not be intimidated, that they will not get development, because we've seen this happening in a lot of areas. Honorable Speaker, even our brothers here in the Senate, we would also want to see them being able to oversight the counties in a better way. Honorable Speaker, we have seen a lot of overlaps, and I think this has already been mentioned here. We've seen overlaps. Roles that can be easily handled by this House are also duplicated by our brothers in the Senate. We have seen instances, for instance, Honorable Speaker, when this House was already seized on a matter when we had a dam that had burst its banks in the Rift Valley. The Senate were also investigating the same matter, and at the end of the day, Honorable Speaker, it does not come out well when the two houses take reports that don't seem to be really speaking the same language. For me, I would want to see these roles streamlined so that the Senate can perhaps be able to stick to those matters, counties, and to ensure that they can be able to follow them through in a better manner. Honorable Speaker, The issue of pending bills has really been mentioned today, and in this is a thorn that is really big in almost every county government. Although they may insist that sometimes monies are delayed at the national, by the national government, we must make sure that whatever projects and programs are factored, when funds come, they must be able to allocate money to clear the pending bills. And I think this is something that must be seen through as quickly as possible. Honorable Speaker, some of the devolved functions are very critical to our people. Honorable Speaker, we have ended up having to do some of the programs that should actually be done by the county governments. For instance, the rural roads that are not even Kera roads have been totally neglected. We've had sometimes to have to do those roads ourselves, despite even the small resources that we are getting through Kera on those roads. Even the last mile connectivity on water, which is supposed to be a role by county governments. We see national government building mega dams across the country. We see water main pipelines being laid, but the actual last mile connectivity to the households is still very wanting. And we would want to see more Kenyans getting the water resource. Honorable Speaker, I think even the issue of agriculture has been mentioned here, and we would want to see even better advice to our farmers in various areas, and more these issues being looked in a better way, so that we can ensure that the issue of agriculture in our counties is better developed. The hospitals in our various counties, some of us, like even like Madhya, for instance, does not even have a level 4 hospital to date. And even those clinics and dispensaries that we have rarely have drugs at all to dispense. So this, I think, is something that we need to see growing. Honorable Speaker, the other thing that is extremely important and has been worrying is when we see that county governments, the revenue they collect is rarely accounted for. The revenues they were collecting years earlier, even before they were getting anything from government, was much higher than they are currently collecting. Unless these funds are not being declared in full, I think this is an area that has a lot of disparities. Given the situation and where we are, we would be seeing much more being collected, because they have more staff, they should be able to streamline these areas, and they can even use the IT solutions that are there to ensure that this is done. Honorable Speaker, these are the few areas that I would have wanted to mention. But more importantly, also is to mention that disbursement by government should not be delayed to the counties so that they can be able to effectively do their work. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
The Honorable Nyenze Edith, member for Kitui West.
Thank you, Speaker, and thank you for giving me this opportunity and also waiting for me. Let me take this opportunity to support the county allocation bill, Senate Bill number 30 of 2021. From the onset, let me say that I support devolution. I actually support devolution because we all can see what devolution has done. It has transformed our country. And the health centers and also many infrastructure can be seen in our counties and in the whole region. Even health has also been devolved, water, and so many other things, even businesses to the youth and to the people all over the country. We can see that people are now getting jobs of doing contracts and also getting employment in the county governments. So there is a lot of positivity and a lot of improvement in our country. And this is all because of devolution. So I support devolution. But devolution has also some issues which have come with it and which we need to improve, because if actually improved this devolution and our county governments, if they improved, and our government, if there was good policy on the governance in the county governments, then we would see our country really improve like other countries which have improved very fast. I was a time I went to Dubai just, and then when I was coming back, you see like you have come from a very developed country. Then when you look at the infrastructure in your country, you just pity yourself. But if we supported the county assembly, and I mean devolution, and if we meant good use of the resources which are being devolved, then our country will be just like another developed country, because this one is a very good gesture of devolving money to the county governments. But then there are issues like own revenue, which the county governments collect. This money is collected from some of the money is collected from people who are very small businesses, who just have a business of, starting businesses, SMEs, some women who are just selling tomatoes. The revenue is collected from there. And then this money, you hear it's being put in sacks. It's being misused. It's being misappropriated. Yet it's being collected from very needy, very poor people. So there's need to have a proper policy on revenue collection, a proper system of collecting this money, a proper system which would also say from what amount should this money, or from which businesses should this own revenue be collected from. Because some of the money is really being collected from very poor people. The businesses end up in collapsing, yet they are collapsing and the money is not being meant good use of. It's just being used by individuals. So there is need to come up with a proper policy on non-revenue collection and how this money will be used and from whom should this money be collected from. Then the other problem within devolution, especially in our county governments, is the bloated wage bills. And this one now, you find a county government where one governor loses, and then all the employees, the old employees who were there in the previous government, being observed in the new government, and still they participate in the wage bill, they are paid. So you end up in having bloated wage bills, and this money is being misused instead of this money being there for development. So there is need to come up with a proper structure so that if people were employed in the previous government, they should still be the same ones to continue instead of at the new governor employing their new employees, yet they keep the old ones. The wage bill keeps on bloating, and this one actually gives up, development is the one which serves us. Then it's like we've also devolved corruption to the county governments. Corruption is being devolved to the county governments, and there's a lot of corruption. And this corruption is which is making us not really improve, is the one which is making us lag behind, is the one which is resorting to pending bills. You find that some people are given some contracts in some counties. Some people are paid, some contractors are paid, others are not being paid. And in doing so, then they keep on taking these cases to court. And court cases, now the county governments end up in paying for these court cases, therefore compromising the money which was meant to be for development. So if we could have a structure like the CDF structure, whereby this amount is supposed to go for development, and this amount or this percentage is the one which is supposed to be for current expenditure, then our devolution we would see a lot of improvement, and our country would soon be a developed country. Because this one, devolution, it's actually a success story, only that we need to improve on oversight, we need to improve on the structure, and come up with a policy on how to improve the devolution. So with those remarks, Mr. Speaker, I support the bill. Thank you.
The Honorable Mizigi Mneni, member for Taita Taveta.
Well, thank you, Mr. Speaker, for also giving me an opportunity to add my voice to this county allocation revenue bill, Senate Bill number 30 of 2021. And from the onset, Mr. Speaker, I want to start by saying that I want to support, and I want to support this bill because it is going to make sure that there will be revenue in our counties, and therefore smooth running of businesses in the county. But Mr. Speaker, as I support, I want to say, as many have spoken here, I want to say there are challenges. Mr. Speaker, there are challenges because we have seen people suffer, and majority of the people are people who have been doing business with counties because of pending bills. Mr. Speaker, people have died because of high blood pressure. People went ahead and took loans so that they can work or do business with counties. And as at now, people are being auctioned because the counties have not paid them. Mr. Speaker, this is a very sad state of affair. And Mr. Speaker, as we pass this bill, as we discuss this bill, it is my great wish that is going to help or solve such kind of problems. Mr. Speaker, I also want to talk about the recurrent expenditure. Mr. Speaker, this, in most cases and most counties, these expenditures are huge. And as much as the expenditures are huge, the complaints also are so huge. Most of the staffs at the counties have not been paid. Majority of them are suffered. They have been kicked out of their homes. They are not able to pay rent. They are not even able to pay for their own children's school fees. Mr. Speaker, we have seen many people suffer at the counties, contrary to what we had believed that devolution is going to do. And therefore, Mr. Speaker, as I conclude, because a lot has been said, I want to say that as the monies are going to be disbursed in the counties, I will urge the county governors to priority is key, to prioritize matters. Because when you look at some issues like the issue of health, there's a say which goes that a healthy nation is a wealthy nation. And we can't say that we are developing and we can't say that we are wealthy if our people are sick. And therefore, I will support and I will insist that priority is key as when it comes to when the money is disbursed, as they start allocating money to different items, they should prioritize health, and the staffs should be paid, and also pending bills. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for this opportunity, and thank you.
We shall have Honorable Manzo Kitonga.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me an opportunity to contribute on this very important debate. And Mr. Speaker, I rise to support the report which was presented here by the committee on the county allocation of revenue bill, Senate Bill number 30 of 2021. Mr. Speaker, a lot has been said, and I don't want really to repeat myself. This country had a lot of hope when devolution was done in the 2010 Constitution. I personally supported devolution, and I believe devolution can work very effectively, and it's one way of developing our country if the money is devolved, properly utilized, and also taken to the counties in good time. When devolution started, Mr. Speaker, things were very efficient, and the first time, funds arrived in good time, and as time went by, there were a lot of issues in counties, and I think also Treasury grew cold feet. Remember, every county has to account to Treasury how it has used its funds, and there are certain levels of, what they have done with the money in a year and how much is left. So at times it becomes difficult to send more money when the works have not been done and the reports have not been presented. So some counties, they themselves occasion the delay of the monies being released there. As much as we urge Treasury to be efficient and to be on good time, also the counties have to be efficient. They have to do the procurement at speed, and also make sure that the pending bills are cleared in good time. The result of which is that there is delay in development. The counties incur more bills. We lose more monies into the delays and the interest rates and that sort of thing. And Mr. Speaker, that doesn't help our country. When you look at the roles which have been devolved, like agriculture, this is an agricultural country. That is one area. If farming is done well, and the counties are meant to do so, whether they are keeping livestock or they are growing, they're growing food. For example, in Makueni, we do oranges and mangoes. And this season is a season for oranges. And I can assure you, when you go to Makueni now, you get very, very sweet oranges. But what is left after local business people have sold to Nairobi and other markets is supposed to be processed by a fruit processing plant, which is in the county, which has had its own difficulties. When it first started and during its own construction, it was good. And then also, if you check almost in every county in Kenya, the monies they have already received, which is averagely 60 billion. Averagely, every county now, in the last 8 years or so, 9, have 60 billion. If you look at the works, and you see also compare with the monies CDF receive, you will find more development with the CDF, which receives 100 million a year, and yet these people receive monies in billions. If you look at the development, you will find that CDF with much less money has performed much better than the counties. And if you move around and try even to take stock of what 60 billion have done, you will realize the counties have actually utilized about 10 billion, and the 50 billion is lost, Mr. Speaker. This is lost to corruption, and we did not devolve sufficiently the agency which fights corruption in this country, the EACC. We simply did not. So we need to invest more in EACC, and I think we need to have more training so that we have more credible team which works with the governor. Otherwise, a lot of money cannot be accounted for. And I believe if proper investigation is done, if EACC and the DCI were to move on a high speed, most of the governors will end up in jail together with their cronies. Because most of the money we have sent to the counties have been stolen. And if I were the Minister for Finance, really, or the Permanent Secretary for Finance and his team, they will grow, lethargy. They will feel, the right thing is not happening with the devolution in Kenya. As much as BBI is proposing to add this money, I think, honestly, it's going to create more trouble, more problem when we send more money and we are not putting sufficient structures to check these governors. If you look at the county assemblies, most of them are captives of the governors. So you find the county assembly cannot check the governors properly. And we must put it in the law that the county assembly's monies are on their own. The county assembly does not receive money county assembly does not receive money through the governor. Because if the channel is through the governor, then the county assembly will be starved of money. Governor has already been starved of money by the national government. When the money gets to the county assembly, it is again further starved to the county assembly. And the county assembly have been reduced into mere bulldogs, which cannot bite. So we need county assemblies which have teeth and can bite and can check and can thoroughly scrutinize every development program so that really development takes place at the counties. And most of the money is allocated, Mr. Speaker, do not really end up into development. It ends up into a lot of other things, public participation, which is not really public participation, mismanagement of these funds, unnecessary, travel and unnecessary, conventions where there is, I believe the work must be done fast before people go into conventions or before they travel. There must be something tangible. As much as a lot of money has been allocated for the roads in the counties, we members of parliament still have to plead with the Minister for Laws for something excess to be able to do a road which is actually classified as a county road because Wananchi are suffering and there is a lot of trouble. There, even you as a member of parliament, you feel there is trouble. We had to do some of the things supposed to be done by the county government, like water projects. You, as a member of parliament, you cannot allow your village to continue suffering the way you suffered when you were a child, if you lived there. The way children went to fetch water with donkeys instead of having piped water today. So you'll have to make an effort. And in fact, when we just started in the other parliament, we had to complete some of the projects CDF was doing in terms of hospitals, in terms of water projects, and later on hand them over to county government. Even some of the nursery schools have been abandoned. In one case in Watertown, in my constituency, a nursery school was left out by the public participation, and they could not do enough nursery schools. And of course, it's a growing town. So we had to allocate some CDF money to do one of the nursery schools which was about to collapse. And I was afraid that young kids there who have no idea what is happening ends up, in danger or losing their lives. So therefore, this is where the national government or the members of parliament are finding themselves. Yet, there's a county government which should be sufficient. And this is not only the case in Makueni, there are many other county governments where even the monies collected by the county governments now, if you compare them to what the county councils used to collect, you find that the county councils used to do much better when the economies were much poorer. Now today, with a better economy in the country, and with more businesses expanding and the collection at a higher level, Mr. Speaker, we must surely come up with a way of how this money is going to be efficiently collected and efficiently accounted for. Most of the money end up into the employees of the county who have not been paid their salaries for many months. How will you collect money from a market, from a lady selling bananas, and when your own children have no food that day and you send it to the county, only to be put into another pocket of the governor? So this is an area, Mr. Speaker, we must really think as a house, and I'm really challenging my very good friend, Honorable Kanini Kega, who is in charge of budget in this country, to challenge us to come up with a law so that we can harness all that money into proper use, collected in the counties. And I'm sure all these cries you are hearing, Mr. Speaker, about a lack of money in the counties will be gone the moment their A in A is proper. I'm sure Mr. Speaker will not have unemployed and paid employees of the county governments and of the county assemblies, Mr. Speaker. I really urge the county governments now to be more careful, to be aware that there is a law, and to be aware when they misuse these funds, they will end up in jail someday. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Ibrahim Sahar.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to add my voice to the county allocation of revenue bill, Senate Bill number 30 of 2021. Mr. Speaker, the bill seeks to make provision for the allocation of revenue raised nationally among the county governments for financial year 2021-2022 and facilitate the transfer of the allocations made by counties under this act from the consolidated fund to the respective county revenue funds in accordance with the resolution approved by the Parliament under Articles 117 of the Constitution. Mr. Speaker, the delay in disbursement of funds to counties by National Treasury has badly affected the current county budget, therefore affecting day-to-day running of activities and delivery of crucial services such as health care, delayed payment of county staff, suppliers, and implementations of county work plans, programs, and development projects. Mr. Speaker, the bill will strengthen the coordination of national government through the National Treasury and county governments to ensure that the allocated equitable share of revenue is timely and dispersed and in proper way to guarantee smooth service delivery in the counties. Mr. Speaker, when devolution was mentioned and 47 counties were created, we were really yearning for devolution, but unfortunately it turned the other way. It became a disaster. We have devolved corruption to counties. If this money is used properly, it will help health properly, water, roads, but unfortunately now it is the other way around. I support this bill. Thank you.
Member for Sirisi, I thought you have spoken on this. Are you sure you haven't spoken? Okay, okay, you have the floor. I suppose you are sufficiently ready.
I came late, Honorable Speaker.
But you are here.
Yes.
Please proceed.
Thank you.
You look ready.
Honorable Speaker, I thank you for giving me chance also to contribute on this Senate Bill number 30 of 2021. Honorable Speaker, with my observation, we were happy with the devolution, anxious, thinking that government, when they were created, they were going to help this country because the monies were to go to mashinani. But Honorable Speaker, it's like we created money for people to eat, because the county government, the 44 county governments, Mr. Speaker, people are crying all over, everywhere, about corruption. The structures, Mr. Speaker, for the money to the county government has not been there. And people in the ministry, like Minister of Finance, Mr. Speaker, they put structures for the CDF, because initially when CDF started, Mr. Speaker, the MPs were controlling CDF. And later, the government put structures to control the funds, whereby, Mr. Speaker, in this case, the government just left money being controlled by the government, the governors, and that is why, Mr. Speaker, the money is being misused. If you check properly, Mr. Speaker, the little money that constituency gets, you cannot compare with the money, billions, that the government get, Mr. Speaker. We get 100 million in each constituency, and the work is seen. The 100 million has done a lot of work, and the public is happy the way CDF is spent. And it's very little money, Mr. Speaker. Like, let me quote my account where I come from. We get 8 billion for the government. And we are 9 constituencies where we get 900 million. And you cannot compare the development that the 900 million, we've used it properly, and it is seen on the ground, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, we are passing this bill. I support, yes, but with very little or small heart, because like the collections, before the government were created, the councils used to collect a lot of money. But now, where the money, we expect that the government has put better structures than the councils. But the money, the collection is not there. We hear that they collect their money. First, they take it to the house of the governor. And then later, that little that they will remain is when they will take it to the treasury. And this is what is happening, Mr. Speaker. So we urge the government to put the same structure that the government put to control money for CDF, so that the government money can be controlled in a better way, Mr. Speaker. Because without structure, Mr. Speaker, it's like the country is just donating money to make governors rich. Every governor has a lot of money. Either he has built or has bought 3, 4, 5 hotels. Pick hotels. Where do they get that money to buy all those things that? And Mr. Speaker, it is just that the Constitution allowed 10 years. If I was asked, Mr. Speaker, each governor could have only gotten 1 term. Because, like, for those who have been elected for 2 terms, Mr. Speaker, they have really enriched themselves. And we, like the budget committee, I support the treasury, that the minister should slow by giving out money, not very quickly, the way they want. Even if the pending bills are there, Mr. Speaker, but the minister should be slow. He should go slow the way he's going. So that, Mr. Speaker, these people, in one way or another, it's like a break. They are given too much money, but because the structures are not there, because they are stealing, Mr. Speaker, the Treasury or the Minister for Finance should go the way he's going, even if they are complaining, Mr. Speaker. With those few remarks, Mr. Speaker, I support.
You support? Yes. Honorable Oduol. Professor.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, on the onset, I would like to support this bill. Honorable Speaker, I do so because as we look at the bill, we can see that it seeks to ensure that, Honorable Speaker, we can have equitable distribution of resources. Honorable Speaker, I was going to support this bill mainly by indeed drawing attention and emphasis to the manner in which a number of county functions that are very clearly articulated in the Constitution, Honorable Speaker, ranging from agriculture to health, to transport, to trade, to county planning, to dealing, Honorable Speaker, with the very delicate aspect of our citizenry, the children, with regards to early childhood development, and pointing out, Honorable Speaker, that indeed this bill, in terms of the very clear objective to make provision for the allocation of revenue raised nationally among the county governments for the financial year 2021, was going to be a very critical and useful aspect, especially at this time of COVID. Honorable Speaker, I have, as I have listened to members contribute in ways that I do agree with, I wanted, Honorable Speaker, to support the bill, but to emphasize, Honorable Speaker, an aspect in our country at the moment where we do have two levels of government, national and county. And where as a country, Honorable Speaker, we are no longer at ease, Honorable Speaker, and there are a number of us that, if in the words of literary experts, seem to be saying, cry the beloved country. Honorable Speaker, I say this because as I listen to the contributions, I do indeed see that there is a major concern with regards to how we would ensure that in the country, as Kenya, we recognize that there are two levels of government, and that therefore, as we allocate resources, as we ensure that there is revenue distributed, we do it fairly. But Honorable Speaker, I want to say that it is clear that when we raise issues of corruption, and when we indeed point fingers at what is happening in our country, particularly with regards not only to the manner in which we not only deal with the budgeting, but Honorable Speaker, also how we deal with delayed disbursement, but in particular, Honorable Speaker, where pending bills seem to be something that we see as a norm, and which therefore just continues to roll in and out. And so, Honorable Speaker, as I support this bill, I want to draw our attention to the sense of unease in our country and the point at which we are, Honorable Speaker, where we do need, just like we said yesterday as we gave eulogy of a departed hero, Honorable Jekoyo Midiwo, Honorable Speaker, and it was clear yesterday that one of the things that all members were in agreement on was that Honorable Jekoyo was an individual, indeed, that stood to speak the truth and would always ensure that that truth was listened to and was heard, regardless of those who might want to disagree or those who might not be so happy with what he is saying. And I say this, Honorable Speaker, because I want us, Honorable Speaker, as a country, to see that corruption indeed is a challenge. But when we look at the county governments, Honorable Speaker, we need to recall that another major challenge in our country is the manner in which we do not seem to be drawing together cohesively as a country. And that when we talk about national cohesion and equal opportunity, Honorable Speaker, we have a very clear sense in our country where there are citizens who continue to feel marginalized, and there are those who continue to feel left out. And there are those, Honorable Speaker, even as there are opportunities in government, opportunities in so many other areas for employment, we still have a number of Kenyans, Honorable Speaker, who sometimes by virtue of the region where they come from, the language that they speak, perhaps their age, their level of ability, their gender seem to be left out. And so, Honorable Speaker, I would like, as I support this bill, to do so on the ground that the counties have actually come to help us as a country, not only to look at ourselves and to see the way that we can continue to try to become more cohesive, to try to become more equal, to try to distribute resources more equitably. But, Honorable Speaker, it has indeed been as was envisaged when the devolution framework was presented. We have found ways by which, as we talk about our country, Honorable Speaker, in the words of President Obama, when he visited us, he was talking about 47+1, that we can see ourselves as a country, Kenya, but we can also see ourselves as having 47 specific governments that can look at interests and can address concerns of the country. And so, Honorable Speaker, I support this bill because I see that as we indeed find ways of ensuring that resources will not only be budgeted for the counties, but that these resources will be disbursed, we will, Honorable Speaker, be at a point where we contribute towards greater national cohesion, towards greater equality, towards a manner in which we will find that regions that, for whatever reason, Honorable Speaker, had felt left out, will see that they can, within their particular government, indeed plan. And so, Honorable Speaker, I support this bill, and I support it because I see that it is a very important milestone. I support it because we know that counties have employed, indeed, a number of our people. I support it, Honorable Speaker, because we know it is a training ground, even as we look at those who become members of the county assemblies. We find that we get leaders who come to the National Assembly who make great contribution. Honorable Speaker, your Honorable Speaker yourself is a clear indication of how, when we look at the manner that there is a connection between the county and the national government, we truly want to see this as a very, very key platform and as an area where we want to be sure that we are not only harnessing, but we are nurturing and we are preparing the ground. And so, Honorable Speaker, I support this bill. And Honorable Speaker, I hope that as we look at this bill and we ensure that there will be resources that are allocated, even, Honorable Speaker, as we seek to ensure that we get structures and as we point fingers, Honorable Speaker, to the county governments and indeed the corruption that is there, Honorable Speaker, there is the saying that when you are pointing at another person, Honorable Speaker, in this case, when we at a national level point at the county, we might want to reflect that there might be one finger pointing at the county government and there might be four pointing at us. So it is important that we see that we not only look at the allocation, which is what we are dealing with here, that should really be done both to the national and to the county government, but I want to, Honorable Speaker, thank the committee and thank the Senate that as we ensure that resources are allocated, we also want to request or to ask the Senate that they can push more what we are asking for here, that when we are having money allocated, we get to see projects, we get to see the manner in which pending bills are addressed, that we can more or less use the same template. So I want to support this bill, Honorable Speaker, and I want to ask that we continue to work towards helping our counties Because when we do so, we really do indeed promote equality. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Next on top here is Honorable Odanga Makoha, member for Matayos.
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I support the bill, the county allocation of revenue bill, to give money to the counties. And Mr. Speaker, I'm a very keen supporter of devolution because of what we have witnessed in our county since the onset of the devolved units. Mr. Speaker, a lot has been done by the county governments, but we still demand that a lot more need to be done because of the funding that are going down to our devolved units. Mr. Speaker, a lot has been said here, and particularly the issue of A&A is very critical. Most of our counties are not declaring exactly the amount they are receiving. The money they are collecting from the markets, from the licenses, from every other source that they themselves collect has not been declared adequately. And we believe that if this money was properly and adequately declared, we would be having a lot of funds to support development in our counties. Mr. Speaker, many of our counties, particularly the towns, Busia being an example, you will look at Busia and see the social amenities that were put in place many, many years ago to support very small populations are still the same amenities that are being used by more than 10 times the populations that were at that time. Facilities like sanitation, facilities like water piping and roads and so on, they are not adequate. And yet, the docket of urban planning is well under the county governments. We would like the county governments to think about planning, to have roads. Now a town like Busia, which even is at the border, you go there, you are going to find queues of trailers and trucks, which is very dangerous to the people and any other person. They need to be expanded. We need bypasses. All that requires planning. And therefore, the county governments must come out clearly to say what they need. If they really need funding from the national treasury, this must come out clearly, because people cannot continue staying in slums. They can't get the facilities that they need because of the roads, because of the poor sanitation and the like. Mr. Speaker, our counties also need to be responsive. They need to be responsive by getting the facilities that are appropriate and by responding on time. Timeliness and promptness is very important, equally to the national treasury, which delays the funding for county governments, thereby delaying development, making some of the funds they have accumulate interest and delaying payments to the workers of these counties. People who have families, they want to take their children to school, they want to feed, they want to take them for medical attention, but they are not able to because they are not being paid on time. The National Treasury needs to up its game so that we don't have these delays that we have witnessed in the last few years, not only this year. I remember even the other years, the county governments were threatening to down their tools before the funds were then released. Mr. Speaker, we want to see practices, good corporate governance practices practiced in the county governments. We want to see accountability, we want to see transparency, we want to see responsiveness, we want to see equity, we want to see inclusiveness, whereby the last one, I mean, if there are several communities living in the counties, all of them should enjoy the facilities, should enjoy the positions that are in the county on pro rata basis, other than maybe one sub-community enjoying and benefiting more than the other. In that I mean that ethnicity needs to be addressed by the county governments, because they are using resources that are national, and these resources therefore need to benefit all of them. Most of the members have talked about corruption, and indeed I will have to echo that. We need also to see funds that come to the county governments. We want to see them having enough funds for livestock, for fisheries extension, for agriculture, and then research needs to be allocated money, because without research, Mr. Speaker, we are not going to solve many of the problems that we are having. We are having lots of problems in the areas of agriculture. We want to come up with new varieties of crops, and all this need research. The county governments need to have a plan for this. Mr. Speaker, the counties must increase their audit, the audit of the projects they are having. They have projects they have started in various places in the county which they cannot account for. I have witnessed one or two institutions where I went to, where some ECD classrooms are said to have been started by the county government. But the county government is still saying they don't know where the project, that project. They don't know where it is. And they have never even seen it. So in that case, they need to really take audit of the projects they have, those they have completed, and those that are still ongoing. With those few remarks, Mr. Speaker, I support.
To my right now, Honorable Gishimbo Ideji.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for that chance to contribute to this county allocation of revenue bill. And Mr. Speaker, from the onset, let me say that devolution is one of the best things that came with the 2010 Constitution, because it has really brought services closer to wananchi. It has really transformed, and where money is properly used, lives of very many Kenyans down there. Because it was very, very, very hard for Kenyans to reach at the national level to lobby for resources. Now, these resources are at the county level. However, Mr. Speaker, how these monies are used is the matter of concern, and especially where money is devolved, but not further devolved to the respective constituencies. You find there is a lot of over-concentration of these resources at the urban areas. And the local people at the constituency, at the ward level, are left to suffer when they live without water. They live there without good roads. They live there without even dispensaries or health facilities. And yet, this is money that was meant to go and touch that person at the local level. Mr. Speaker, if you look at the report, it shows that this money has been increased from the 2020-2021 financial year to this 2021-2022. A county like Kirinyaga has received an additional about 1 billion Kenya shillings, owing and thanks to the new formula that was adopted by the Senate. Mr. Speaker, we hope that this money will be seen to transform the lives of Kenyans at the county level, and especially Kirinyaga. I'm particularly concerned about Kirinyaga because that is where I come from. And, Mr. Speaker, it is a shame when we live next to the mountain where there is a lot of water. There are so many rivers. And yet, there are some parts of Geshogu, where I come from, where we have problems of water. People have been running to visiting the constituency office, seeking support to finance some very small BQs of like 5 million, 3 million, even 1 million, or even 500,000 to be able to connect water to their homes. Yet, there are billions of money which we are channeling, or which is being channeled to the counties, and people do not benefit from such. Mr. Speaker, I persuade and I urge the county government to look into these issues. Water is life. No one should, and especially when we come from near the mountain, should go without water even a single day. And this water should even be extended for even for irrigation, for small irrigation, so that they can also be able to fetch a little more money. Madam, Mr. Speaker, the other issue is health. You find that there are so many dispensaries, health centers, which were started by even the previous the leadership in the county government, yet they are still there, white elephant, and they are not completed. Mr. Speaker, these are issues of concern of leaders when we go there, and these are very critical areas of service to the community that were devolved, but the county governments are not taking them very seriously. Roads is a big concern. A number of contributors have said that members of parliament are forced to go a notch higher, even to look for funds from the national government to do roads that are usually meant for counties. Surely, counties are letting us down, they are letting our people down. So with the increment of the funds in this financial year, and especially Kirinyaga, I have not been able to take every other statistic for the other counties, but Kirinyaga, I know we are getting about $1 billion. We expect that these issues of band roads at the constitutional levels, ECDs, whereby even if you are to allocate money, it cannot go through because it's not a national government function. And also agriculture. Agriculture is also devolved. Kirinyaga is an agricultural county. We expect that the county government injects a lot of money in agricultural extension services so that people can be able to get the best advice on the crops owing to the deterioration of the soils and such things. Mr. Speaker, we also expect, with a further injection of money, we do not expect counties to continue over-licensing. They should leave and they should leave the citizens at the county level. At least they give them space to breathe, because there's a lot of over-licensing. Even taking a bunch of a banana, even potatoes at the market, you are even licensed by the county government. Mr. Speaker, this, with the injection of more money from in this allocation, they should actually ease the level of licensing in the various sectors, and especially where wananchi normally get their food. Mr. Speaker, the issue of pending bill has been said. I do not want to overemphasize, but I remember, even as at to date, there are pending bills which were incurred during the previous, I mean, the other term, from 2013 to 2017, and actually they have not been paid. You wonder what is happening. Some people, property were even auctioned because of the bank loans, and it's pathetic. I think those are things that need to be looked at, so that at least they can be able to put back those people back on track. Mr. Speaker, because I can see there are a few more interests in this matter, let me rest that case, and I support the bill. Thank you.
Honorable Hassan Juma.
Asante sana Bwana Spika kwa nafasi hii ya kutoa mchango katika huu mswada kuhusiana na fedha zitakazopewa na zitakopeanwa serikali za kaunti kwa mwaka wa kifedha wa 2021 na mwaka 2022. Kwa hivyo nataka mwanzo kuanza kusema kuwa naunga mkono mswada huu, kwa sababu pesa sahihi zinakuja mashinani toka tupitishe katiba mpya 2010. Na nasema hivyo kwa sababu pia sahihi wa pwani hatuna haja tena ya kusema kuwa pwani si Kenya. Sahihi tunapata mabilioni ya shilingi kila mwaka, na tunachagua viongozi kutoka kwetu, miongoni mwetu, ambao wanasimamia miradi muhimu, yale miradi ya msingi, na hatuna haja tena ya kuomba na kungojea mtukufu rais aje mashinani kuomba vitu vidogo kama miradi ya maji na shule za chekechea na pia hospitali ama madispensary. Kwa hivyo kwa hilo Wakenya siku zote watakuwa wanamshukuru Mheshimiwa Raila Amolo Odinga pia kwa kuja na hoja hii ya kubadilisha katiba. Lakini naomba sana magavana kwa miaka 8 au 9 hivi ambao tumekuwa nao watupe imani zaidi na kuonesha wananchi na Wakenya wote umuhimu wa hii fedha. Kwa kweli Wakenya wengi na viongozi wengi kama walivyosema hapa bungeni leo hawajaona faida kubwa ile ambapo fedha kama hizo zinaweza kufanya kazi kubwa zaidi na kuondoa umaskini zaidi katika kaunti zetu. Na hapo umesikia pia baadhi ya viongozi wakisema pia kuwa CDF ambao pesa yake ni milioni 100 tu, na pia hata pesa za kina mama za ngafu saa nyingine zinasikika zaidi kwa wananchi kuliko senti za magavana ambazo ni mabilioni. Kwa hivyo tunasihi, na mimi pia nasihi magavana watumie pesa vizuri na waeke mikakati ya kuweza kushinda ufisadi katika serikali hizo za county. Hata kama tunatetea waongezewe pesa, wapewe pesa mwaka huu wa kifedha, na pia waongezewe kupitia miswada kama vile ya BBI ambao pia inataka kuongezea fedha serikali za county. Naomba pia magavana wawe wabunifu. Mmesikia hapa pia wabunge wengine wamesema kuwa county council za kitambo zilikuwa zina kusanya fedha zaidi kuliko serikali za county, na serikali za county ziko na nguvu zaidi na mamlaka zaidi kuliko serikali za council za si serikali lakini kamati za council hapo awali kabla hatujabadilisha katiba. Wawe wabunifu kama vile kuna magavana wengine waangalie mifano humu Kenya wamo ambao kwa mfano wametengeneza mitambo ambao imeongeza thamani bidhaa zao, kwa mfano vile maembe, maziwa na kadhalika. Kwa hivyo bidhaa za wananchi katika hizo county, mimea yao na kadhalika imepata soko na imepata pia imeleta bei nzuri. Kwa hivyo imeweka pesa nzuri katika mifuko ya wananchi kuweza kujikimu kimaisha na gharama zao ndogo za maisha. Na pia viwanda vinazalisha kazi. Na tunajua ajira ni changamoto kubwa sana nchini kwetu, na viwanda hivyo ni njia za kuzalisha kazi. Kwa hivyo iwapo serikali za county na viongozi wao magavana watakuwa wabunifu, basi hata serikali kuu ikichelewesha kutuma senti watakuwa na senti za kutumia. Nasikia pia hakuna mikakati mizuri, pengine pia kuna ufisadi ndani ya pesa zinazokusanywa na hakuna mikakati mizuri imewekwa. Kwa hivyo tunahitaji kuweka mikakati mizuri, na tunaomba Senate waweze kufanya hivyo ili zile pesa zinazokusanywa zihakikishe kuwa zinafanyiwa hisabu na zinatambulika na haziendi kwenye mifuko ya watu kibinafsi. Kitu chengine nataka kusema ni pia kuomba serikali kuu hivyo hata kama tunahimiza magavana pia wajitahidi katika kusimamia uchumi na fedha za serikali vizuri, iwe serikali hizi zinapata pesa kwa wakati, na iwe hakuna muda ambao unakatika senti hizo, na kuwe hakuna sababu pia ya kukosesha wale wanaofanya biashara na kaunti kukosa pesa. Na ni jambo la kusikitisha, inaonekana kuwa tabia za watu zile binafsi za kutolipa madeni pia wakienda kwenye uongozi, hata kama kuna fedha za umma pia hawana hiyo tabia kulipa. Na ni muhimu kulipa, hususan kwa mteja kama serikali ambao ni mteja mkubwa sana, kulipa madeni ya wale wanaofanya biashara nao kazi kwa wakati, kwa sababu bila hivyo tunaharibu uchumi wa nchi. Kuna watu wamechukua mikopo, wameharibikiwa maisha yao kwa sababu ya kucheleweshwa fedha zao na kulipwa, na wengine nasikia kwa miaka mingi zaidi. Kwa hivyo hilo liwe jambo ambalo litawekwa kipaumbele kabla mwaka huu wa kifedha, walipwe madeni yao ili pesa zianze kuzunguka katika uchumi wetu, pia zianze kupunguza baadhi ya shida ambazo sasa hizi zimekumba sana, hususan na changamoto ya corona. tumepata bahati kubwa kwa kweli kuwa na ugatuzi. Nchi zingine, hata nchi za jirani, wanatamani wangekuwa na ugatuzi, wananchi wenyewe sehemu zao huko mashinani waweze kujiamulia miradi. Lakini sasa pia kuna baadhi ya magavana, nasikitika kusema, wanadanganya pia wananchi. Hivi sasa vile tuelekea siku ya kura mwaka 2022, kuna magavana wanazunguka mashinani, na unajua wana fedha nyingi sana za kuzunguka kila sehemu, kila pembe ya county. Wanaambia wananchi kuwa usipochagua fulani kama gavana, kura yao pengine wao wenyewe wanatoka, usipochagua fulani basi hamutapata basari, ambao ni urongo. Na jukumu ni la gavana kuhakikisha kuwa uchumi umekuzwa, ya kuwa wananchi wana pesa mfukoni. Manake ukweli ni kuwa basari za viongozi wote haziwezi kusomesha watoto wote. Muhimu ni uchumi uweze kukuzwa, wananchi wao wanapata fedha ya kuweza kulipa karo za wananchi wao. Basari zimewekwa pale kwa sababu ya wale walala hoi zaidi katika jamii, na sio za kupewa kila mtu. Kwa hivyo pia waache hizi tabia za kudanganya wananchi kuhusiana na majukumu yao na kuhusiana na vile serikali inavyofanya na kuzidi kuwatatiza. Na pia magavana zaidi, kama hawajafanya hivyo wale walio hapo, na wasi kwa mwaka huu na kwa miaka ijao, magavana waekeze zaidi kwenye vile vitu muhimu ambao ni muhimu kwa wananchi. Sana sana kama maji ni kitu muhimu sana, na jukumu hili wamepewa magavana. Hivi sasa kuna sehemu vile mvua imechelewa, kuna sehemu humu nchini kwetu watu wanakunwa kwa mfano maji ya chumvi. Unasikia hadithi kuwa mpaka watoto wanakunwa maji ya chumvi mpaka wanatapika kwa sababu hakuna maji masafi. Nao tumekuwa na ugatuzi sasa tunaenda miaka 10, ni jambo la kusikitisha. Na hata hivyo magavana wanasikia habari hizi, na pia juu ya hivyo pia hata hawapeleki maji ya kusaidia kwa dharura. Wamekaa tu kimya, wanatulia huko aliko wananchi wakipata tabu, na wao ndio jukumu lao. Tena lingine waekeze kwa ni masuala ya afya, kwa sababu mengi yamegatuliwa. Madawa hamna katika hospitali, madaktari hayatoshi. Shida magavana wengi ni kujenga. Ukibahatika wanajenga zahanati, wanajenga hospitali kila kukicha, kila pembe ya county, lakini wanaongeza mahazanati, lakini zile zilizoko hazina madawa na hazina madaktari wa kutosha. Na shangaa sababu yaweza kuwa nini kutaka kuweka mijengo mingi bila kuweza kupeana huduma katika sehemu hizo. Na pia nataka kusema na kuongeza tena kuwa naunga mkono mswada BBI kama nilivyosema hapa awali. Siku ile kuko tunapitisha mswada huu kwa kuongeza pesa zije mashinani, zitasaidia sana. Kuna baadhi ya viongozi wamesema pesa zisigatuliwe kwa sababu kuna ufisadi sana pia ambao umeenda mashinani katika serikali za county. Nasema pesa zigatuliwe hivyo hivyo, na iwe jukumu la wananchi kuhakikisha kuwa wanapigia kura gavana na serikali ya county ambao inafaa, ambao watajali wananchi na ambao hawatakuwa na ufisadi. Lakini pesa iwe pale pale ili iweze kufanya masuala mazuri iwapo tutapata viongozi wazuri wa county. Asante.
What is out of order? What is out of order? This is it. Honorable Nkandha Nyaga.
Mr. Speaker, I stand on a point of order 95. When you listen to the members, there is no one opposing the bill. We are supporting, even myself, but we are repeating ourselves, Mr. Speaker. So I would like you to call them over so that he can reply. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Well, honorable members, when a member raises and requests that the member be called to reply, the Speaker has no option but to actually confirm the mood of the House. In any case, honorable members, we have actually 6 or so minutes to the end, to when the House must rise. And so, Honorable Ikemani Jongwa, we shall not give you a minute. So, honorable members, I will put the motion that the question that the movement be now called to reply. With as many as are of that opinion say aye. Aye. With as many as are of the contrary opinion say nay. The ayes have it. Honorable Honorable Kanini Kega. Honorable Kimani Ichung'wah, you are not a member in this house, so you know the rules. But you are insisting.
Thank you so much, Honorable Speaker. And from the onset, I want to really thank the members from the bottom of my heart. The members who have contributed, the members who stayed late yesterday, Honorable Speaker, the members who are still here and were desirous of contributing in this very, very important debate. Honorable Speaker, a few issues that I have noted, of course, from the contributions that we have had from members, Honorable Speaker, and maybe from with your indulgence, Honorable Speaker, can I cede 2 minutes to my good colleagues here?
Honorable Kanini Kega and Honorable Kimani Ichung'wah knows that I'm unable to break the rules of the House. Having been invited to reply in that manner that you have been invited, you cannot sit ground to anyone.
Honorable Speaker, I am a
including
generous.
your good friend, Kimani Ichung'wah, who was former chair.
To Janet and Nagabo.
Even Janet, you cannot.
Okay, thank you.
That
You know,
is the rule of the
naturally,
House.
Speaker,
And I'm the custodian of those rules.
I'm a generous person. Honorable Speaker, the issue of paying bills cannot be overemphasized, Honorable Speaker. It's an issue that is coming every other day, and counties are choking with paying bills. There are so many people who have been auctioned, so many people who have lost their businesses, basically because counties are not paying. And the PS and the CS, when he was here, CS National Treasury, directed that all counties, all government agencies must pay pending bills before 30th of this month. We want that directive to be adhered to. Honorable Speaker, we are now taking 370 billion shillings. In fact, Honorable Speaker, on top of that, we have another 40 billion shillings in terms of conditional grants. We are taking money to the counties, but now we want the county assemblies also to play their rightful role of making sure that those monies are going for the intended purpose. Honorable Speaker, the dollar that we passed, Honorable Speaker, the monies that used to go to the counties as conditional funds for roads, of course, is not. Right now, it's together with the shareable revenue. We want to make sure that we want to tell them, the county government, the county governors, that funds for the roads must be used for the roads. Honorable Speaker, I don't want to overemphasize again on the issue of ingenuity. Counties must also look for other ways of raising revenues. Honorable Speaker, in the defunct county councils, they used to have funds, but after we now transform to these county governments and getting money from the exchequer, the funds that they used to collect, the cess, maybe they are collecting, but it is not being utilized. Honorable Speaker, with those few remarks, Honorable Speaker, I want again to thank the members for their contribution, and we will make sure that their contribution will be put in place. I beg to reply.
Honorable members, obviously we shall pay putting the question on that particular matter. Honorable members, it is 2 minutes to 6:30. For the convenience of the House, we shall not proceed to the next business. Yes. Honorable members, the time being 6:28 p.m., this House started adjourned until today. Honorable members, please note today, Wednesday, 16th June 2021, at 7 p.m. for the evening session.